Oh, that's great. Thank you. The new
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's 6 p.m. I'd like to go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. It's November 13th, 2025. It's our regular council meeting. Laurie, can I please get roll call?
Mayor Young,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sartori,
Here.
Councilmember Brandon,
Here.
Councilmember Painter,
Here.
Councilmember French.
Here.
Thank you. Our invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Councilmember Brandon.
And actually, we're going to have the invocation done by a very, very, very dear friend. If he would like to come up. We are so blessed to have you back with us. So if you wouldn't mind giving us your love and guiding us into our meeting tonight, we'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. It's always a privilege to open in prayer. Thank you. All right, so Father, we are gathered obviously in these chambers tonight to conduct your business of our village. And so I would like to first of all, God, pray for those who sit on the dais before us tonight, that you give them guidance, God, and direction and wisdom as they, I believe, have sovereignly been placed here to watch over us and lead us and guide us and direct us and to assist in the growth and the blessing of living in Tequesta. Father, I thank you tonight for our wonderful staff of people, for our department heads, each one of them, Father, for their leadership, and every employee, Father, here. I know most of them, and I'm just so overly grateful for them. Lord, it's a family here, right? I mean, we get paid and all that, but God, this is a family, and I'm just so very grateful for each and every one of them. God, tonight I want to pray especially for our public safety men and women. What an honor it has been to be their chaplain over 20 years now. Over Chief Medina, Assistant Chief McGrew, and Chief McLaughlin, Lord, and all of our incredible team of men and women who give so much of themselves to keep us safe and watch over our village. I'm so thankful for them. And then, Lord, I think of our men and women in uniform, Father, some far, far away from home tonight. And I pray for them, Father. I pray for safety and for their families, and that they would come home safely, Lord. And I just thank you for their protection for us, for our country. Lord, I also want to just thank you, God, for that chili cook-off. My goodness sakes, what an amazing thing. And for Captain Dave McGovern, and for the vision you gave him, 14, 15 years ago, this idea of having a chili cook-off and to honor our veterans and so many organizations, to see how, Father, that has flourished. I just give you thanks for that, Father, and so excited to see what next month, I guess, is when we'll find out what the total is. And then, Father, I just pray for our country tonight. It's so good we're back to work now. They sign that thing and get our folks back to work, God. And nothing is perfect, but I do thank you for our country, Lord, and for the blessing of living in America, and for the honor and privilege of living in this great village of Tequesta. Lord, tonight I just ask your divine guidance and direction. Holiday season is coming soon. Thanksgiving is coming, God, and we're counting our blessings for all the blessings of life that we have. Lord, for Hanukkah, Christmas, just a wonderful time of the year. Help us to just sit back and pause, Father, and give you thanks for all these good things. So now, Father, watch over and give direction, we pray tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
All right, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor,
If I may, just a few comments on the consent agenda.
Can we do do
I
you
can
want to
wait.
do that when we get to consent agenda and we'll do presentations first?
Sure.
Perfect, okay. All right, so we'll start with our presentations tonight. First up, we have our school board member for our district, District 1, Matthew Lane, to give us an update on things. Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure. Good evening. The mayor asked me to come by and introduce myself to you and tell you a little bit about what's happening in our school district. The first thing you need to know about our school district is we're an A-rated school district. And recently, the Florida Department of Education designated our school district as one of Florida's high-performing academic school districts. We have a 96% graduation rate, which is the highest graduation rate of any of the 7 largest urban school districts. 6 of our schools have 100% graduation rates, and none of our schools are D or F rated. We're the 10th largest school district in the nation. Our district covers 2,400 square miles. We have a budget of $5.9 billion. That's our annual budget. We have 170,000 students, 23,000 employees, and 183 schools. Every year, we serve over 33 million meals, which I guess makes us the busiest restaurant in Palm Beach County. We're also the largest employer in Palm Beach County, and we have the 2nd largest police force. Now, our police force has an Excelsior accreditation, which is the highest accreditation that a police force can have in the state of Florida. We on the school board take safety very, very seriously. We have a uniformed officer in every school and a behavioral health specialist in every school. Our teachers have an average of 15 years of experience, and they're given extensive opportunities for professional development. In every room, we have AI, we have a smart board, and every student is given a laptop. And in sports, we're state champions in 14 different sports, including boys high school football, which apparently among school superintendents is a big deal when they get together. And Mike Burke now has that to brag about when he goes to their meetings. Additionally, we're state champs in boys and girls track, in boys weightlifting, and in girls softball down in Jupiter Middle. We offer 335 career choice and technical education programs, including law, medical science, business, IT, marketing, construction, firefighting, culinary, and also in JRTC, as well as in teaching. Additionally, this is something you probably don't know, every year we teach 20,000 adults to be carpenters, plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, welders, as well as forklift operators and commercial truck drivers. The bottom line is that the school district of Palm Beach County is your best choice for children and their families in Palm Beach County. And I can tell you that for me, this has been the best job that I've ever had, because every day I know that I'm making a difference in the lives of 170,000 children and 20,000 adults. And I know that you're entrusting us with your most valuable treasures. So if there's ever anything that I can do for one of your children, grandchildren, a neighbor, family member, or friend, please let me know. I'm Matt Lane. I'm willing to help out in any way that I can. Now, I know you have a busy agenda, so let me give you my phone number. If you need it, I've given the clerk my card, but my cell phone number is 561-373-1182. Once again, 561-373-1182. Please call me. I'm willing to help out in any way that I can. Thank you very much, and have a great meeting.
Thank you, Matt. This keeps going in and out. Council, do you have any comments or questions before Mr. Lane leaves? I just want to. No, we're good. Okay. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Matthew was on the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, and then he chose to continue on the service at the school district. So thank you, because we know what you've been through, and we know what you're going through. So thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Vice Mayor.
All right, our second presentation for this evening is recognition of Village Clerk Laurie McWilliams on receiving the inaugural Florida Certified Professional Clerk certification. And here tonight to present that, we have Kelly Avery, who is the Southeast District of the Florida Association of City Clerks. Kelly?
Good evening. I am Kelly Avery, and I serve as the Southeast District Director for the Florida Association of City Clerks, as well as the former president of the Palm Beach County Municipal Clerks. I thank you for the honor of allowing me to be here today. It is my pleasure to be here today to recognize your village clerk, Laurie McWilliams, for achieving a significant milestone and becoming one of the first municipal clerks in Florida to earn the Florida Certified Professional Clerk, which is FCPC, certification from the John Scott Daly Florida Institute of Government at Florida State University. The Florida Certified Professional Clerk curriculum was designed to provide practical tools for leading municipal clerk teams and processes while building upon the foundation of Florida municipal organization. The program specifically targets exemplary municipal clerks who are committed to sharpening their leadership skills, embracing their vital role in Florida government, and preparing for both current challenges and future opportunities. This program would not exist without the vision and leadership of FACC past President Audrey Sykes, who first set this idea in motion during her presidency over 10 years ago. It also came to life thanks to the dedication of Laurie McWilliams, our past president, Pat Burke, and other IOG professionals who played a vital role in developing and customizing it specifically for Florida's municipal clerks. I know Clerk McWilliams has worked for the Village of DeQuesta for almost 19 years and has served as the village clerk since January of 2007. Clerk McWilliams graduated from the 20-month program and was pinned with her certification at the October 7th, 2025 meeting at our Florida Association of City Clerks association meeting. Currently, the Florida Association of City Clerks has over 610 members, and as one of the 18 graduates of the inaugural FCPC class, Clerk McWilliams has not only achieved personal professional growth, but has also helped establish a new standard of excellence for the municipal clerks throughout Florida. Please join me in congratulating Laurie McWilliams on her effort in achieving the Florida Certified Professional Clerk certification. On behalf of FACC and the Southeast District, as well as the Palm Beach County Municipal Clerks, we are very proud of you, Laurie. Congratulations. Get up here. Thank you.
Laurie, you never cease to amaze me with all the things that you do and accomplish. You're a great leader, a great mentor, and anytime I meet another clerk, from Palm Beach County, they all know you and they have nothing but amazing things to say about you. We are so lucky to have you here. Do not ever leave us. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Councilmember French, do you have comments or any items you'd like to pull?
I apologize, Mayor. I spoke out of turn. I'll save my comments for after the consent agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
If I may, on the consent agenda?
Yes.
I just want to thank the village staff and Family Church DeQuesta. They were able to come together on one of consent agenda items was a parking agreement. We all use Constitution Park, and many of us has parked at the church or close by. And both of those organizations had to understand each other's issues and kind of come to an agreement that worked both for the church, village, and all of the residents that use that area. And so I'd like to thank staff for taking that time, and the family church as well, because sometimes it's not easy understanding both sides of the argument or the issues. And I think we came to a very good agreement where all sides are happy and the community can continue to use that parking. Thank you.
All right, next up, do we have any communications from citizens tonight?
We do. We have Valerie Hempy.
Good evening. I promise I'll be brief. 3 things. First, kudos to Doug Chambers on the sidewalks. They look great. I don't know if it was village employees or contractors, but whoever did it did a really good job. So that's one. Briefly, on the garbage topic, I called Waste Management on Tuesday, our garbage day. I didn't have a pickup the previous Friday. The woman said, "Oh, you weren't on any schedule for Friday." I said, "Are we on a schedule today?" "No, your pickup days are Monday and Thursday." I said, "No, they were changed to Tuesday and Friday." And literally, before I finished the phone call, the truck came. So I just wanted you to know, I think there's some misunderstanding with them. So maybe someone can call and clear that up. And my final main topic is these huge trucks that haul equipment, front loaders and such. Twice now, I've had them run over my lawn. This is, I don't know if you can see this or if you'd like me to pass it around to you. I'm at the northeast corner of Venus and Tequesta Drive. There's a nice swale on Tequesta Drive. Recently, this was a week ago yesterday, came home for lunch, everything's fine. Went to go back to work, my lawn was torn up. And when I checked it on Saturday, they also broke the sprinkler pipe. So I contacted my yard person who very kindly came that day and fixed it. I don't even know what he's gonna charge me for that. But anyway, my point is, why do these trucks have to be on Venus? I can't see any reason for it. There's a swale. Now maybe I'm missing something, but if somebody could address that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So Jeremy, I think one thing, we can reach out to Waste Management and just make sure everything's clear with the pickups. I know they run late sometimes. I think last week, I know at my house they came in the evening, so they do run late. And then in regards to trucks running over people's lawn, if it's anything from our work, from the work we're doing with the sidewalks or water main, let's make sure we address that. Collectively, I don't know if there's a code enforcement standpoint there, but I've been noticing that around the village. I know people that now have put cones up in their yard, on the edge of their lawn and the asphalt to try to prevent trucks from running in. We've had a lot of roads blocked recently with construction, FPL. So I don't know if there's a code enforcement aspect there that we can look into, and maybe you could circle back with council and we'll get a response back to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other citizen comment that is not about an item that's on the agenda tonight? Nope, okay. Moving on to communications from council.
I don't have anything this evening.
I will start with, can we, as a team, send a reminder to contractors to make sure that they clean up the road near their construction site? I personally am also on my 4th nail, as well as some other residents in the West community. Kudos to Doug. I don't see him here. He is always really good about being out and about, which I like in a director when they're hands-on. We've had a lot of solicitors again. It's like they know our seasons here. And for residents to judge who's a solicitor, who's an actual contractor, there is a little hiccup today in the west side of DeQuesta. They didn't have any identification on them, but Doug was out there asking them, who are they with, what are they doing, and it got all cleared up, so I appreciate the hands-on approach from him. Parks and Rec, kudos to you. I know you guys are working on a lot of stuff for our season, so to speak. We have our rescheduled dance event, I guess we can call it, tomorrow night. And I did get a sneak peek at one of the staff members at a local store picking up some really fun Christmas items. So I'm very excited to see what they do, and that is it for now.
Thank you.
No comments from me, thank you.
No.
And just a couple of quick items. Tuesday was Veterans Day, and I just wanted to wish a belated Veterans Day to everyone. I know we have a lot of staff members that served, and just truly from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your service. And like Pastor Paul said, what an amazing chili cook-off. I think most of us were there. It just gets bigger and better every year, and I can't wait to see that presentation in December. In regards to the DeQuesta Park local bill, I spoke at the Martin County Legislative Delegation last month, and today at the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation. I want to thank Vice Mayor Councilmember French and the manager for being there in support. And from both delegations, we received unanimous support to move the bill forward. So I'm extremely excited. I am just so proud of council with the efforts and work we've put towards DeQuesta Park the past couple of years. We have a long way to go this session, but fingers crossed, and I know we all will be there advocating to get this one through. Now, the Palm Beach County League of Cities also provided their legislative update at the delegation meeting today. I'm not going to get into it because that is our final agenda item, but we only had 3 minutes, so I specifically spoke on property tax reform, SB 180, and municipal elections, and we received good feedback, and the delegation really wants to work with us this session on a lot of these items. I think maybe the manager will give an update on the FEC quiet zone during his report. If not, is there anything we can do to kind of try to expedite this? I mean, is it at a point where we reach out to Mass's office? I don't know if you just want to talk about it more during your manager's report, but I just want to throw that out there because I know we all got that update, and it's just beyond discouraging what we've had to deal with for this quiet zone. And then other than that, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving, because we will not be in these chambers again before then. So, all right, and moving on to our standing reports, Village Attorney.
Nothing of substance, but with Thanksgiving coming in 2 weeks, I want you all to know that I am very thankful to continue to have the privilege to occupy this chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Village Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Wasn't necessarily prepared for the FEC, but I can give a quick update. We were awarded a grant, or we've started an agreement with a grant process. The grant was going to have an agreement with Brightline to do some improvements to the track, which would allow us ultimately to be able to make the track safer and also provide for a quiet zone. We have been told by Brightline that they're no longer going to honor that and go through that process. I know Doug still has a meeting set up to still go through this process and get the funding. We are going to try to work an agreement with FEC instead of Brightline, and if that doesn't work, we could still possibly, for the grant funding, would still be available, be able to bid that out and do it ourselves as our own project. So it's not dead yet. I don't think we've reached the point to reach out to Mass's office or anything like that. I know Doug has a meeting soon with the FEC to see if we can continue to work that just from a different angle. So the DeQuesta Hold'em event is 5 to 8:30 tomorrow. We have the Coffee with a Cop. That'll be Saturday. That's the rescheduled event. Coffee with a Cop and Shredded event. And then November 20th, we have a planning and zoning meeting. With that, you have my report.
Thank you. Any comments, questions for the manager?
No, thank you.
All right, Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Congratulations, Laurie. It is a pleasure to work with Laurie. She honestly is phenomenal. Has her hands in everything, and honestly is always there to help us out. So congratulations, Laurie. You have my report before you. Just a couple of things. The mayor touched on Coffee with a Cop this upcoming Saturday, and the shirt event. We'll also be doing our firearms class at the same time. Lieutenant Yildiz will be handling that. I just want to touch on Halloween patrol. We had a lot of great compliments from the community. We were out there in full force along with our COPs, and our community truly loved them being out there giving candy to the kids. So we got a couple of emails on that, just complimenting the troops. And Captain McGovern did a phenomenal job with the chili cook-off as always. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the Florida Guard who actually came out and assisted us this year with security. Some of you may not know, we have Lieutenant Yildiz who actually volunteers and goes out and flies sometimes with the Florida Guard, and he was able to get some assistance in regards to security for the event. So the last thing is, and I'll be quick, is last time I talked about a big drug bust that we had, Scout and Detective Loney. So we brought Scout here, who is the hero of the police department. And as some of you have, we've made some new magnets for people and for our community members. It's Scout, and it has our non-emergency number as well as 911. We'll be giving them out on Saturday, as well as any community member that wants to come into the station and just grab one. We'll be more than happy. But Mike was part of a huge bust that was 173 kilos of cocaine with a street value of over $17 million. That's drugs that are not in our hands. We know how many lives that saves and how many lives it changes. So he does phenomenal work. So we wanted to bring Scout, who's very happy, I see. And I know Councilwoman Brandon said she wanted his presence here, so.
He deserves it. Plus, we couldn't bring our last K9 in.
I was told on my back.
All right, well, we are very proud of Scout, us as a council. So we have a little something for him over.
If you want to take the ball, you can give it to Ray. Good. Yeah. He'll eat that too. Thank you.
You're doing a good job, buddy.
No, he'll take it. He's just very, very good boy.
And then because we love K9 Officer Eric, there's some goodies.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Council loves you.
Detective Loney, if you need help with the gift disclosure forms for
And I have a receipt.
Kurt volunteered to do it for me.
Thank you.
Good job, Scout.
My report, Mayor. I don't know if anyone has any questions, so.
Come on, you.
He's trying.
He always steals the show. I love it. Council.
If it's a bad meeting, I'll bring Scout. That way everyone smiles.
It'll totally change the energy in the room. Any comments, questions for the chief?
No, man.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Next up, fire department.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I can't follow the dog. I apologize. I don't have one. I'm working on it. It's a tough act. We had a very busy month. It was Fire Prevention Month in October. We had lots of kids visiting the firehouse. We went out to a lot of the different schools in the area. Girl Scouts. We had Fire Fest. We did a Halloween event at Jupiter Inlet Colony, so we're strengthening that contract and that relationship we have with them. It's been wonderful so far. I attended Florida Fire Chiefs Health and Safety Conference. It's incredible. I had never been. Tons of learning opportunities for us to get better and keep our people healthy and mentally sound, which is the big push right now. So that was really good in Orlando. A lot of training as usual. Most of the training this month was with other agencies. We did some stuff with the water distribution group, and we had stuff with Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, Palm Beach County, Water Rescue. I mean, it was, the list is endless, and it was some really good learning experiences for our people. I love when they get to work with the other agencies. We had a great meeting with Palm Beach Gardens. We're going to be able to use their fire academy, which is only about 6 miles away, as opposed to where we've been traveling to use fire academies is much, much further. So it keeps our units close by and in service, and unit availability is a huge push for us. So that, they're gonna be letting us use that at no cost, which is fantastic. So we can use that nights and weekends, and if we coordinate with them, we can use it during the day as well. We were really pushing for the weekend so we can capture all those hours we need for our ISO rating. And I've also been working with the attorney's office on some mental health stuff and things that have to go through him for open carry safety with my rescues, just different things that we've been talking about, and I've had a lot of good conversations with Mr. Dillon. So thank you very much for that. And that's about it. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Council?
No, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And last, the Utilities Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. In your agenda packet today, there is an update for our utilities dashboard and project update. A couple of things I would like to highlight is for Dover Ditch. If you had not had a chance to go by Dover Ditch, the tide has gone down, so it's actually really awesome. You can see the meandering of the canal. So that project should wrap up before the end of the year, so we're pretty excited about the progress there. Moving on, the water treatment plant improvements project is out to bid, and bids are due tomorrow, so we're excited to get those bids in. The filter media replacement pressurized vessel project, welding repairs are almost complete, so we'll be moving on to the next 2 vessels. Our membrane delivery is tomorrow, and they plan to mobilize Monday, so we'll start the replacement of the membranes in one of those trains. Our water treatment master plan is on tonight's agenda, and if approved, we'll have our kickoff meeting for that tomorrow. And with Water Main 1 to Cuesta Drive, I just wanted to let council know that next week, the 17th through the 21st, Country Club Drive crossing will be underway, so there'll be a partial lane closure right at that intersection for that 1 week. The partial lane closure will take place from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and there'll be road plates after that for the streets to be open during high traffic times. The connection that has to be made is open cut, so we can't directionally drill right there in that area, so we will have the partial lane closure. And then after that, we will be doing the open cut work on El Portal, which will be a partial lane closure, but that'll be after Thanksgiving. We have told the contractor that they'll have to have the site all tidied up for the Run for the Pies. And then I hear you, Council Member Brandon, we will make sure we reinforce picking up the site. Sorry about that. And then Martin County Line Road Bridge replacement project. Our directional drill contractor plans to mobilize next week starting on the 18th. So they'll get that project underway, so then the bridge project can take place after that. And I was made aware that the pre-construction video for the bridge project has been completed, so they plan to slowly mobilize after we move out of their way. And that is all I have, and I will take any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Allison?
No questions. Just one comment, Mayor, Allison. On the water main on Cuesta Drive and North Dover, the northwest corner, there's a sidewalk it's a squared off sidewalk, and the piece of equipment was there, and I just noticed today, like 3/4 of that corner is broken, and a lot of kids on bikes kind of get there and it terminates because of the construction fence. But if you can send somebody out there to take a peek at that, so it's from the northwest corner of Dover, North Dover and Cuesta Drive.
Okay, we'll take care of it tomorrow.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Under old business, agenda item 13, ordinance number 09-25, which is the second reading of a comp plan amendment for Cuesta Country Club.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 925, ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Cuesta, Florida, adopting a small-scale amendment to the comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth at section 163-31-87 Florida statutes pursuant to a privately initiated application FLU 0125, which provides for an amendment to the future land use map designating 1.454 acres, more or less, of real property as recreation and open space, which property is located at 201 Country Club Drive, known as Cuesta Country Club, providing for compliance with requirements of Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Jay?
Good evening, Jay Huffs, Community Development Director. So this is a continuation from last meeting. It's the Cuesta Country Club just cleaning up some inconsistencies with their comprehensive plan and the zoning map. At the last meeting, council voted 5-0 to recommend or to approve on first reading this ordinance and the next ordinance, which is a rezoning. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant, Zach Cicera, is also here as well, but unless you want me to, I won't go through the full presentation.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions?
No.
Thank you.
Oh, is there any public comment? Get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Agenda item 14, ordinance number 08-25, second reading of a rezoning for the DeQuesta Country Club.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 825, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of DeQuesta, Florida, providing for the rezoning of certain real property within the corporate limits of the Village of DeQuesta, Florida, pursuant to a privately initiated application REZ 012025, which property consists of 1.454 acres more or less of land located at 201 Country Club Drive, providing that this real property, which is more specifically described in the ordinance, shall be rezoned from the village zoning designation of R1A single-family dwelling to the village zoning designation of recreation and open space, providing that the zoning map of the Village of DeQuesta be amended to reflect the proper designation for this real property, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, effective date, and further purposes.
Thank you, Keith. Council, any comments or questions on this one? No. Public comment? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Agenda item 15, ordinance number 11-25, which is the second reading of a small comp plan amendment for 19626 Riverside Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1125, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of DeQuesta, Florida, adopting a small-scale amendment to the comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth of Section 163-3187 Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application FLU 0225, which provides for an amendment to the future land use map designating 2.1271 acres more or less of real property as low-density residential, which property is located at 19626 Riverside Drive, providing for compliance with requirements of Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, effective date, and for other purposes.
Good evening, Jay Hutch again. Sorry, Keith, a lot of reading tonight for everybody. So same as the last one, so this is a continuation of a rezoning comprehensive plan amendment. This came before council last meeting. Again, unanimous approval. Here to answer any questions, but I won't go through the full presentation unless you want me to.
Okay. Council, any comments or questions on this one?
No.
No, we haven't think went through it last time.
Public comment? No. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 16, ordinance number 10-25, which is the second reading for a rezoning for 19626 Riverside Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1025, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of DeQuesta, Florida, providing for the rezoning of certain real property within the corporate limits of the Village of DeQuesta, Florida, pursuant to a privately initiated application REZ 0225, which property consists of 2.1271 acres more or less of land located at 19626 Riverside Drive, providing that this real property, which is more specifically described herein, shall be rezoned from the existing Palm Beach County zoning designation of residential single-family RS to the village zoning designation of R1 single-family, providing that the zoning map of the Village of DeQuesta be amended to reflect the proper designation for this real property, providing conflicts clause and severability clause, effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Keith. Council, any comments or questions?
No.
Any public comment? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Agenda item 17, ordinance number 07-25, which is the second reading of a zoning text amendment to amend the required number of parking spaces for marinas.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0725, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of DeQuesta, Florida, amending Chapter 78 zoning, Article 10 off-street and on-street parking and loading regulations, Section 78705, entitled Required Number of Parking Spaces, to modify the number of required spaces for various marina uses such as charter boat, wet slips, water taxis, and boat clubs, also providing parking requirements for accessories and crew amenities, providing that each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 78 zoning shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Keith. Jay?
Yep, Jay Hutch, Community Development Director. So this is a zoning text amendment to clean up our parking code as it relates to marinas. As you recall, this came to council, I think sometime in August. We then cleaned the code up a little bit in working with the applicant. And I think we've come up with a resolution that kind of protects the village from future marina development, while also allows the Jib Club to redevelop their property. I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant, Troy Holloway, is as well.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions?
No.
Any public comment, Laurie? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Right, on to new business. Agenda item 18, a special exception use 02-25 for the Jib Club Marina. And I know Keith is going to do the swearing in for this item and also the next item 19, which is a site plan modification for the Jib Club.
Thank you, Mayor. Agenda items 18 and 19 both relate to the Jib Club Marina. The applicant is 2GHO for both applications, and they both address the same property. These are both quasi-judicial proceedings, which means testimony that's presented to the Village Council needs to be sworn. So if you're going to be offering testimony to the Village Council on either the special exception application or the site plan modification application, I do need to swear you in. I can swear everyone in at the same time. If you'll all please stand and raise your right hands. Whoever's going to be speaking on this item. Do each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury your testimony to the Village Council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. And then I need to come back to the council and ask if any of you have engaged in any ex parte activities, whether it's discussions with staff or the applicant, engaged in any site visits or consulted with third parties on these items. While those activities are permissible, they need to be disclosed for the record at this time to remove the presumption of any prejudice.
I have not.
And
Yes, I spoke with village staff and site visit.
I have not.
I've spoken to village staff and have driven by the site.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Then we, with those disclosures and the swearing in, we can proceed with agenda item 18.
Good evening, Jay Hutch again. So I'm going to let the applicant, Troy Holloway, speak first, and then I'll clear up anything after that and answer any questions. Troy.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I can never see right. For the record, Troy Holloway of 2GHO. We're here on behalf of the Jib Club. With me tonight, again, is John Priska and his son, who both own and manage the marina. Hopefully, you'll see me for the last time tonight on this project. We're hoping. We're here tonight since the text amendment is now behind us. We're here tonight. I'm going to combine the special exception of site plan into one, if that's okay. We're here tonight requesting site plan and special exception approval for a minor expansion to the existing Jib Club and Marina for a 921 square foot second story addition, which is for a manager's office and storage for miscellaneous marina supplies and equipment. We're all very familiar with the site location. And this is kind of a blow up of the marina itself, which then also does show where the proposed building addition will be placed on top of the ship store, and there's a little building next to it that will kind of straddle both of those structures. And this is a blow up on the site plan of that of the addition. The total site area, the marina, the wetland, I guess the water and the uplands itself is 1.6 acres. The total building area, which consists of 4 separate structures, is only 1,108 square feet. The proposed addition of 921 only provides a total square footage of just over 2,000 square feet. The existing and proposed open space is 19.2%. We're not adding any more impervious area. We're not adding any parking spaces, sidewalks, or anything. It's just the structure on top of the building. The provided parking is 24 spaces with the text amendment. 20 spaces are required, so we're okay there as well. Again, the proposed additional is only 921 square feet. It does have a west-facing balcony, which will overlook the fueling stations and the marina itself. It does provide for a much-needed private office space for the marina operations. It'll have a small kitchenette space, private bathroom, because right now they have to use the public restroom that everyone uses, and storage for miscellaneous marina supplies and equipment as well. The big thing is here to open up retail space in the ship store. And this will not function as a bar or party room. I know there were discussions early on and some concern with that. Strictly just an office space. Just a few things about the gym club. It is a fueling service is their main business there. It does contain no living boards or charter boats. There's one employee each day. No alcoholic beverages are served inside or outside of the ship store. However, people can go inside and they can purchase food and drinks, and they can drink them outside. There's a little space outside. There's 4 seats and a counter. They can sit there and snack and have some conversations. The outside boat service, typically they only service 1 vessel a week, and there, of course, there's 29 slips existing at the facility. These are some of the shots of the existing facility. The top left photo there is that's kind of facing the south property line. As you can see, a little covered area that covers the ice machine and the freezer, and the building to the right, that's the walk-in freezer. The picture to the right of that, upper right corner, that's essentially the same south-facing view, and then on the building to the right there, that is the existing restroom and storage structure. The office will be sitting on essentially on top of those 2 buildings. On the bottom there, that's the north face elevation, and on the bottom right, that's the outdoor little area where you can sit. There's about 4 chairs there and a counter where people can sit and have a snack and have their drink. This is the inside of the ship store. It is only 398 square feet. It's very tiny. They do basically just sell necessities there. They have drinks and snacks, some fishing lures, fishing items, sunglasses, and those kind of things. This is the area where basically they have the small space that they have to work in to manage the marina every day. It gets kind of difficult sometimes if they're counting cash or doing books and things, and people are coming and going. It's not the best situation. These are the proposed elevations. As you can see, they do propose to kind of subdue the colors a little bit, change from that bright yellow they've got today. The only change in the bottom will be the paint colors. The top would be the addition itself. The top elevation at the west, that would be the elevation facing the marina, the intercoastal, and the fuel stations. And that would be the balcony that would be facing the fuel stations. It will be providing for a standing seam metal roof, some black decorative Bahama shutters, and again, that's the balcony, and then we have horizontal stucco siding to match the bottom of the building. And again, the bottom, nothing changes at all. On the elevation to the bottom right corner, the south elevation, as you can see, one of the items when we did meet with the colony was their concern with windows facing down on the residential. So we do need light inside of that room. So we do have windows, but they have Bahama shutters, and they don't really open out too far. So no direct views into that backyard. And the access, it would be the stairs, as you can see in a couple of those locations, would be just between the 2 structures would go up to the addition. We've kind of dropped with these images here. This is the existing ship store, and then what we show here then is the image of the 921 square foot office dropped down on top of that. As you can see, it just kind of sits on top of the restroom storage building there to the left, and then the bait store. And the only thing we've added are the columns to just kind of help support that. And the south view, actually, it really cleans up and kind of brings all the miscellaneous pieces of what's going on out there, kind of pulls it all together. So this is the south view again, just limited windows just to bring light in upstairs. Nice balcony, but otherwise everything stays exactly the same. In conclusion, Palm Beach County traffic has determined that we meet all the traffic standards. The boat slip and improvements have all current approvals. We're requesting no variances or waivers with this application. The addition is consistent with your comprehensive plan, and we do agree to all of the conditions in the staff reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. And before I open up for council discussion, Jay, I don't think you've touched base yet. There are conditions of approval, some from P&Z and I think one from staff.
Correct. Jeremy, can you pull my presentation up, please? It would be the one second from the top. scroll down to the last page. I'll just forward. Yeah, I think Troy pretty much covered everything. So I'll just touch on what the conditions of approval are. So the PZB reviewed this at their August 21st meeting, voted 5-0 to recommend approval with the following 2 conditions: that the second story room shall not be used for banquets, events, and parties, and that if any event is held, a special event permit would have to be approved through a normal process. So this actually came from Jupiter and the Colony and the homeowner that lives immediately adjacent to this. So we did have some concerns initially about whether or not they would support this. Touch base with them and talk to that nearby resident, and their only real concern was that there could be events and parties there. So we ran this condition by them, and they said that they'd have no issues with the project if this was proposed. So that was put in here. And then also just kind of a standard comment that they'd have to screen all their mechanical equipment during permitting. And then one comment that came up after the August 21st PZB meeting between now and then is Jupiter and the Colony had the following suggested condition. This came from their village manager, or the colony manager, and that's to mirror their hours of construction. They're not the exact same as ours, so they're proposing that they be from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday. It's a very slight difference from what we have. Otherwise, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Jay. And for council discussion, I know it was presented to us as a package with the SEU and the SPM, but we do need to have separate discussion since the voting criteria is different. So I will start with agenda item 18, the special exception use. So does council have any comments, discussion on the special exception?
No comments, no discussion.
None for me. I have none.
For number 18, no ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any either.
Can I ask a question of Jay? Do the special conditions, is it the staff's intent they attach to both applications or site plan or special
I
exception?
didn't clarify that. They're just to the site plan, not the
Thank you.
special exception. So that will not be part of your first motion.
Right, yeah, it's for the SPM. Got it. Any public comment? No? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, agenda item 19, which is a site plan modification 04-25 for the Gym Club Marina. So council, any discussion on the site plan modification portion?
So I have one question, I might have missed it. The applicant was agreeing to these conditions already? Is
Correct.
agreeable?
Correct. It did state that at the end of their presentation.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed that. No questions on it. I look forward to seeing the project completed.
I have nothing. Nothing for me.
No question, but kudos for the balcony on the top story, because in the marine industry, it's very good and smart to have access to jump outside if you have to yell at a boater. So, kudos to you for thinking about that one. Sometimes you just gotta get out and say, don't. But no other questions.
I don't have any questions. Just again, thank you for taking the extra time to work through that zoning text amendment with us, and I think it'll be a great improvement to your property. Right.
Thank
Is there
you.
any public comment? No? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 20, we have a conceptual presentation for a repurpose of the former Bank of America building.
Mayor, if I may. Let's see, you actually have 2 conceptual presentations on tonight's agenda. The one that's up right now, and then the next agenda item is also a conceptual presentation on a different matter. But if I can just read into the record my statement regarding conceptual presentations, which will apply to both this agenda item and the next agenda item, that is that these conceptual presentations are not quasi-judicial proceedings, and no action shall be taken by the village council beyond discussion with the applicant. Neither the outcome of this conceptual presentation nor any comments made during this conceptual presentation by any council member or village staff is a guarantee or assurance in any way of the final action that may be taken by the council pursuant to formal applications for site plan review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jay Hupsch. I'm just trying to give my boss a hard time tonight. Can you actually pull up the other one? So I'm going to let the applicant present this one first, and then follow up with any clarification if needed. So this is Jacob Williams, who's the proposed applicant, and I think they've also had some assistance with Troy from 2GHO.
Thank you, guys. This is my mom as well, Sharon Williams.
Hi, thank you.
Partnered on all of our projects, but this one especially. But we can just flip through a couple slides here, show you how it's out for us.
We got it quicker. So this property, as you know, is an existing Bank of America building at the gateway to Tequesta. It is existing at a little over 6,000 square feet. We are proposing to redesign it to infill the existing 3-lane drive-through to bring the building to roughly 9,000 square feet. It's a 1.4 acre site. It has 79 parking spaces when you include the shared parking with the adjoining property. The current zoning is MU. We have no requests for any changes of the zoning. To give you an idea of the suites, we're looking to create a 4 or 5 suite building and a patio in the rear. This gives you a rough idea of the design with green space in the rear and a patio. Everyone's aware of the site. This is put together by Troy and his team, and it shows you a redesigned landscape plan. And this gives you a conceptual understanding of how we would redesign the building. So it would include Florida vernacular style, using V-crimp metal roof, Pecky cypress, blue ceilings for the patio, and shell stone for the columns. And also canvas awnings, something bright and happy. These gives you an idea of some of the design criteria that we'll be putting in. This is your north elevation and your south elevation. We're mirroring basically the existing elevation you see when you turn onto Tequesta Drive for the other side. In the west elevation, and then the front. So we'll be adjusting the parapets in order to make the building no longer look like a Bank of America building. So just a little bit about who we are. We're boutique developers, family owned and operated. He lives down the street, and I live in the country club. So we're family owned and operated since 1985. And we do our own construction, our own site work, and our own brokerage, full development services. Even though we're tiny, we're an 8-person staff company, but we handle from soup to nuts the entire process. It allows us to create redevelopments in communities that are aligned with our boutique style in order to do it in an expeditious manner. So we're hoping to get your support tonight so we can move on to complete this project in the next 3 quarters. So this is some examples of some of our properties that we've worked on.
This one's, I'm sure you guys are familiar. This is 307 Tequesta Drive, just down the street here. That building, we did not own the building. We just helped a friend on the general contracting side of things, but this building was, it had some turnover. It had a lot of lip gloss over the years, and we took this building from all the way back to the bones, all the way up to current. So it shows a little bit of like our style of construction. We're not looking to just paint or just update the landscape. This has got full mechanical, electrical, plumbing, windows, floor. Every part of this building was brought up to current code and the aesthetics of the community. So And it shows our timeline as well. Our first phone call on that job was January or February of this year. We weren't able to start construction until like June, and we had the place open for business in September. So when we start, we finish, and we have an expedited timeline.
Next is West Side Station. This was a former racetrack gas station in Winter Garden, Florida, that we converted to a 10,600 square foot, 3-building property. It serves the community well. The parking lot is always full. The businesses are doing great in the community. It houses a coffee shop, a nail studio, a tea bar, and a sushi, and a fast casual healthy gourmet. Next is 403 South Dillard. This was a 3,000 square foot outdated daycare. It was located on the gateway into Winter Garden. And we completely redid the facade and built out the space for 2 small business owners to move into who are operating successfully today. So that's our presentation, who we are, what we do, and what we'd like to do in this community with your support.
Thank you. I think, Jay, do you have a presentation too? And then we'll open up for council discussion.
Thank you, Sharon.
So I think you guys are all familiar with the site. Obviously, this came to you, I think, in August with a different proposal, slightly different. Just wanted to clarify a few things. So that one needed a special exception because there was a drive-through. This one would not need a special exception as proposed. There is no drive-through in the mixed-use zoning district. Restaurants, personal services, retail, medical office, and businesses services under 5,000 square feet are considered permitted uses and do not need a special exception. In terms of parking, I'm sure you're wondering, how are they enclosing the drive-through and still meeting parking? That's because the previous project was a fast food restaurant, which it has to be parked at 1 space per 50 square feet. They're proposing to have a mix of tenants, some professional office, some business office, and some standard restaurants. And the parking calculation for a standard restaurant is 1 space per 100 square feet. So the project as proposed is required to provide 75 spaces. There are 79 spaces on site. They've also done a shared parking study, which was proposed as part of that previous proposal as well. And that shows that the actual peak parking demand would only be 59 spaces due to the proposed uses not having peak demand at the same time, right? So those restaurant uses generally aren't going to be totally full during the daytime, whereas the professional offices, the medical offices are going to be busy during the daytime, but they're going to generally be closed at 4 or 5 o'clock. So there's kind of some synergies where they can internally share parking and reduce the maximum amount of parking spaces required. Won't walk you through this too much. They've already shown this. And if they do move forward, it would just be a straight site plan. And so we would be applying our typical standards for site plan review, harmony with other buildings, harmony with surroundings, advertisements, lighting, building styles, exterior forms. So it's really just kind of a look at the typical site plan design features. And of course, they'd have to go through a development review committee, meet all of our zoning code standards before they would come back to you for that site plan. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jay. All right, council, I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, thank you. You want me to go? Okay. Thank you so much for coming in. Really like the proposed design and the finishes. I think you put some thought into Pecky Cypress is not the cheapest material out there, so I like that you're, those extra touches help. And the only real question I have, and it's probably pretty early on in the process, and if you know and can't share, that's also fine, but any idea who the tenants might be at this point, or are you still really kind of in that early stage? Just trying to decide what you're going to do with it. And
if you could just step up to the podium. Thank you.
And I guess before you answer that, let me just kind of layer onto that is, I love that you guys are local, and I know this is not easy to do, but we have heard from residents that there's a strong desire to try to find some local businesses. And I get that's not as easy as just saying go out and find some local businesses. But is that something that you would consider a priority for your property? It seems like that with some of your other developments, they aren't chained or they're more local users.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's our first goal is to work with the people within the community.
Okay.
With that comes the feasibility of a project like this with high real estate values and a competitive market like it is. Things have to work or they don't work. So we have every intent to make it work with local people, and we're cultivating. I mean, I'm outreaching to businesses locally to see how I can make it work. I get my haircut, go to a butcher shop. I'm like, you guys gotta be here. This is a building for you guys. So we're there, and
we've already met with several local businesses.
Good.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's definitely. I mean, that is 100%. I'd love to drive by that building every morning and be proud of the tin mix there. So
Great. No, that's half the reason I love that you're local. You know, you're going to be driving by it and you'll hear from the community one way or another. So
I watched the August meeting for this building, and the day after was reaching out to try to buy the building because I knew it's going to take that.
But it is a feasibility balance.
Ma'am, would you just mind stepping up to the podium and using mic? Because that way we live stream, that way people will be able to hear as well. Thank you.
Understood, no problem. Yes, so we work hard to bring local to any of our projects. It is a component that we find very successful, and it matches our design that we do for redevelopment of buildings. However, the balance of feasibility still plays in there. So at the end of the day, you have our commitment.
Yeah. No, that's all we can ask. I totally get that. So just that you're already reaching out tells me something, and I hope that there are some local businesses that can make it a home. But that's just had to ask the question, that's all. Yeah. So thank you. No, I really do like the design. Looks, at least in the pictures, a heck of a lot better than it's looked for the last several years, sitting there as an empty bank. So also love that, you know, we're not dealing with, at least not yet, you know, a ton of different, we're just looking at site plan approval. I mean, this isn't a very complicated approval process thus far. And that you're not, although I know you're closing the drive-through, but other than that, you're not trying to make this massive building that won't work for the site. And, so yeah, that's really all I have. I think you did a good job so far where you're at.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So I think it's well known that I am usually the one called out saying I don't like developers when I constantly say that's not true. It just has to be the right developer. And you guys, in particular, your business is the exact developer that I love. One, you're local. Two, you take things that exist and you turn them into something good rather than just building more and more and more and leaving those things that exist. So I love that. Reuse and make it better. The fact that you guys are local sits really deep in my heart because you guys see what the village is and you guys feel what it is. So as much as we would love local businesses in every little spot, realistically that's not possible. We need a couple of anchors, and we would want the building to be successful. So it'd be really realistically for me to expect a little bit of mix in there. I think it's smart that you're going to divide it into 4 spots just because I know what the commercial lease rates are, and they're very frightening. I honestly don't know how coffee shops are staying alive with that. The only pushback, the first thing people said to me was that word you have on there. Can you take a guess? Coffee shop. So I'm not saying no coffee, but as you guys are shopping around for tenants, my only recommendation would be very mindful to keep it mixed, kind of like you said. I grew up in a small town where we literally had a meat market, and then next door was a 7-Eleven, so you get your Slurpee, and then you go and you get your haircut, and there was a little produce place. So I really like to see that in the future for Tequesta, so that way people can literally get a little bit of everything here. So I wish you the best, trying to match that, but I'm open to whatever you guys can fill. The other thing, the south asphalt driveway, is that one way? Because on the north side it's 2 ways, and then south would be one?
It'll be one way.
Okay. And then the other thing, this is more like a Jay question. I feel like I don't fully understand this parking agreement, and I'm not against parking agreements. I think they work like when it's a parking lot next to something else and the using times, are opposite of each other. The daytime parking for this is where I'll be sitting, because who knows what you'll fill it with. And since we don't know those answers yet, I don't know if you could kind of ask us for a parking agreement yet, because I don't know how we could agree to timeframes when we don't even know what the uses are yet.
Sure. And right now, they technically do meet code, right? So they're required to provide 75 spaces, and they're providing 79. So that shared parking thing was just a demonstration to show that they're overparked. And then if they ever were to come try and do an official shared parking agreement, the council doesn't have to approve it. Like if they had a coffee shop that you knew was going to be 100% busy in the morning at the same time as the dental office, you could say, well, there's no parking synergy there because they're going to be 100% full at the same time.
Okay,
right?
so they would still have to come back.
Yeah, you can reject that.
I'm not rejecting it, I just don't have enough info
Yes.
to make that decision wisely.
Yes, we'll vet it through the development review process.
Okay. Perfect. That was it. But I'm very happy you guys were listening and watching because I knew there's people like you out there. We just gotta make sure you guys know it's very possible.
Definitely, thank you guys for listening to the residents and the council comments, and obviously you have because you've come together with this. 307 Tequesta is beautiful. He did a wonderful job. It really changes that entrance there. I look forward to seeing what else you come up with. This is very exciting, and when I first saw this item come up, I was like, all right, finally. So very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, Sharon and Jacob, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and investment in Tequesta, not only personally, but also now professionally. Jay, I'm assuming, maybe I missed it, but all the green space, all those requirements are adequate?
Yeah, they'll meet all those. They'll be fine.
Landscape buffering?
Yeah, so there would be no waivers or variances of any sort requested as we're currently evaluating it.
A very wise man at the far end of our dais, I think the last presentation said, we can't keep voting no, can't keep saying no, we need to bring something in. And I think you've taken the steps to address those concerns. I know that the size of the building brings financing challenges, and so I would imagine that you'll, as Laurie mentioned, probably have some type of regional or credit tenants for your financing if needed, or?
Yes, potentially. I mean, like, nothing is set at this time, but potentially, yes.
Okay. And the restaurant, generically, is it going to be like a fast service restaurant? I know in Winter Garden you had a healthy meal, quick service or something you called it?
Yeah, it was a fast casual, healthy gourmet meal.
Okay.
So we don't know if that same tenant will be at this location at this time.
Okay. And no, we don't know, but we do have more coffee shops per capita than Portland, Oregon. And that's a fact. So just we are the coffee capital of the United States, believe it or not. 2.2 square miles. But no, thank you. You've done a great job with that. I look forward to seeing it move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate the elevation improvements. I have to say, when you pulled up your presentation and you had that pop of yellow, I loved it, because when in our backup, it looks like the same gray, white, and blues we see everywhere. I was like, no, another gray, white, and blue building. And I'm like a broken record. It's like, love the pop of yellow. Definitely think outside the box. Try to do, those little pops or little details here and there that stand out from, that coastal, the trend that we're just seeing everywhere. So take that into consideration. I think I've said this with other concepts. It's a great opportunity to beautify this corner, one of our main intersections, especially when it comes to landscaping, like really maybe having those shade trees along Tequesta Drive and US 1. And I've talked to Jay about this in the past. I think technically that you don't have to comply with the civic open space, but I don't want to see a missed opportunity. Like, there's that dry retention on the east, I guess the northeast corner there. Like, maybe you could do some kind of like wooden deck over that, so you would still have the drainage, but kind of have that landing space, that civic open space, because we're really working towards making our main corridors, the frontage, that inviting, engaging, and lively aspect of our corridor. Mm-hmm. That's really what we're striving for going forward. So if there's anything you could do to try to work that in, that would be so amazing. And then my only other minor comments, the outdoor seating for the restaurant is in the back. The dumpsters are very close. This is based on the plan we have. I don't know if those would get moved, but the transformer's right there, the dumpsters are right there. And again, going back to having the frontage of the corridors being that, live and engaging, it'd be really nice if you could squeeze in that patio on the front east elevation versus the back.
There is room to do a small patio in the front, maybe 4 or 5 tables, but the rear would house the majority, and then we would construct either stucco or some sort of landscape barrier to make when somebody enters into the back and they're gonna have a meal, that they're not hearing road traffic, because that's the complaint we get from a lot of tenants of ours, that they can't create that ambiance when the road, traffic's coming by at 50 miles an hour. So that was the reason for putting it in the back, but there is space in the front to do something small.
Okay, great. Those are my only comments. Again, thank you for bringing that to us. And I will take councils, we're not voting tonight since there's no, it's just a conceptual, but I will take public comment. No? Any public comment? No? All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next item, agenda item 21, a conceptual presentation from the Suites LLC for one of the old CMEX properties.
Good evening, Jay Hupsch again. We're going to let the applicant present first, and then Meg has a presentation to follow up to kind of answer any questions that come up. Edwin.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Edwin Mueller on behalf of the Suites LLC. Justin Angel. We're here to initiate a conversation about the challenge of redeveloping a very narrow site there at 279 Old Dixie Highway. Here north is going to be to your right. This is a sliver of land that is only 50 feet deep. So we're here to work collaboratively with you guys to reimagine what this site could be, which used to be a CMEX site as shown here before it was cleared in 2024. The site itself is just under an acre. Again, some of the design challenges are going to be that shallow depth of the site. But we did prepare a conceptual site plan, a little bit hard to see here. But what we are proposing are 3 buildings, each about 4,500 square feet, that are going to be pushed all the way back to help buffer Old Dixie Highway from the FEC Railroad. And what we're trying to do there is, redevelop the site so that we buffer sound and the eyesore of the railroad track there along Old Dixie Highway, and really redevelop and take advantage of this site. Again, more broadly, 3 buildings. We're proposing 2 separate egress points, one on the north that will service the northern building and the building in the center, and then a smaller egress driveway on the south. This is the conceptual architectural package as of right now, what those buildings might look like. Again, we're here to initiate the conversation, to work collaboratively on what sort of finishes, what sort of architecture you're looking for when it comes to that site. But again, it's going to be that West Indies Mediterranean inspired architecture. And this is just a blow up, kind of just horizontal of what our plan hopes to achieve. Again, those buildings are going to be pushed back, taking advantage of the 0-foot setback up against the FEC Railroad right-of-way. And then on the front side, that facing Old Dixie Highways, where we would have some of our landscaping, a lot of that landscape palette that's going to include some clusia, sylvester palms, podocarpus, flowering beds, sod, and so on. One of the things that we've been working with your staff is to address the parking here, specifically what are we going to call this use and what parking ratio are we going to use. We're thinking this is going to be like a flex professional office, light industrial use, and so we're taking advantage of the professional business office ratio of 1 space to 300 square feet. With the amount of square footage that we're proposing, we'd be required 19 spaces. Right now, we're proposing in excess of 2 with 21, which we are willing to kind of draw back, because one of the things that we are working right now is to provide enough open space on that lot. Again, the design challenge here is it's a very narrow lot in terms of depth, and so to fit the buildings, the parking, the landscaping. It's a challenge, but I think we've put forward a conceptual plan that begins to achieve that. And so, again, just in summary, we're looking to redevelop that old industrial site, and it is our intent to fully comply with the Village Center overlay, which the property is located inside of, and comply with your architectural guidelines. We're looking to provide enhanced landscaping along Old Dixie Highway, and again, like the previous presentation, support local businesses. If I might be so bold, I'm part of your extended community coming up from Palm Beach Gardens, and my client has done a lot of business and development in the northern part of Palm Beach County and Martin County. So we're very excited to join in the community and maximize the potential of this very narrow lot. So with that said, something, my notebook is open and ready to take feedback. Thank you.
Any questions for Edwin right now? You can go ahead and present it first, and then we'll open it up.
Good evening, Council. How are you today?
Good evening.
Meg Weibel with Community Development. This is a brief introduction for 279. We are familiar with the location. It is south of Tequesta Drive and west of Old Dixie. It's in the Zone C3. The applicant is proposing 3 new buildings, 13,500 square feet of new floor space. And the proposed use is office flex. This was previously the CMX construction or concrete site. In 2004, it was issued a demolition permit and it was demoed. Since then, the property has remained undeveloped. Here are the current conditions. The applicant's proposed elevation, so if you were driving north on Old Dixie, this is what you can see to the left-hand side. This is the view of the proposed building from the railroad track, and the north and south elevations that you would see. The applicant has satisfied the requirements for the conceptual presentation. He has submitted all of the required items. This is a comparison of what is currently proposed in the conceptual versus the C3 zoning district. This is not designed to fit our code, but it is very much so in line with it. The applicant already brought up that open space is a discussion we've already had, so they're aware. Landscaping is another point that the applicant is aware would need to be addressed. This is no formal action required by Village Council. The applicant may proceed with their site plan submittal, and staff will then perform a thorough review. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you, Meg. And Council, I will open it up for discussion. If you can come back to the podium now too.
I don't have any questions, just this night's full of successes and great ideas, so I'm excited to see how this progresses and hear some of the other comments that come along. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you for being here. I just mine are just questions. I think it's obviously a challenging site. Totally get that. Very narrow. I was kind of intrigued to see what, even before I saw this, eventually I knew this was going to be something. Can you kind of walk me through, you did describe the ingress egress, but can you just kind of go through that one more time?
Yeah, of course.
And I wish
That's one of my questions too. So
I'm like trying to look at it on here, but it's kind of, I know it's even probably tougher to see up there, but.
You have our site in your, if we could go back to our
Yeah, there was,
presentation.
I can turn around and look at this. You did have one up there. Because I guess the reason I'm asking is, I've always envisioned it would kind of have to be a one way. So
yeah,
so kind of 2 separate one ways. Is that what we're talking about?
Correct. So essentially, I'm going to be pointing on this left screen here, which this is.
Which one? How about this?
Okay, help you. On the yeah, if you go all the way to the north side, there's going to be an ingress egress right there, right under your finger, right
it's
there.
Yellow.
Yep. And so you'd be able to turn into the right, go north, park, down to the left, park, and you can terminate at that building. The second ingress egress is going to be on the south side.
Yellow.
Right there. And that's just going to service that one bay or space there with, right now it's shown with 1 space and a loading zone.
So if you came in here come in, and is there also an exit? Is that what that?
No.
Okay.
It would terminate there. We would have a parking spot blocked off where you could come in, back out safely, and then come back out the way you came in. Same with if you were to make a left into that building.
Okay. I got it.
That's where the lion's share of the circulation is going to occur.
So so I got this one and one of those two. I can't remember. What are the
that
other
one right there between the two yellows.
What are all these?
The colors?
Yeah, like these yellow.
Those are just kind of placeholders for what different types of landscaping and vegetation.
Oh, okay.
treatments.
All right.
Did you just say those were turnarounds?
The yellow?
Yeah.
No.
So on the north
Those would
end?
be like flowering beds. The color was just, we don't have a landscape plan at this point, so the color's just to show visually where some of that landscaping treatment would go.
Okay. No, I mean, listen, I think considering the constraints of the site, you guys have done a great job. You know, office, I guess if it's industrial, maybe they're not as concerned about the noise, and you know what, that's up to them to figure out, but.
Yeah, I mean, we have a letter of intent right now from a blind company that would use it for their professional office and then store some material, as well as he's going to be, using one of the bays, as I understand, for his business as well, to store some material. It's going to be pretty low impact.
Okay. I don't really have any other questions. I think you guys did a great job with a very challenging site. So, yeah.
Okay, so you brought up bays and that one of your possible tenants wants to pull a vehicle into the bay for a loading zone. You keep saying that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do we know who that tenant is? Do we know what kind of use it is?
Not at this point. That's not set in stone.
Okay. But it's not like a museum or anything?
No.
So you were fully aware of the text amendment that's on the other side of the road? Because it's still with, okay, because there's a 500-foot, okay, just making sure, because I didn't know how new you guys were.
Yes.
So we don't want to go repeat history. Again, interesting. Good for you for figuring out how to put something on that property. I mean, many moons ago, there was a discussion in the village of if it should be a park, but there's a railroad track there, so it's, what do you do with it?
It's only 50 foot wide. So.
I appreciate in the presentation that you guys are confirming that the building height is technically 1 story, and that's
Yes.
27 feet 3 inches, just for the record, because I know the second windows visually look like maybe what's going on, but I appreciate adding the design to kind of break up the walls, right? You don't like solid walls. That's really all I got. I mean, I had the egress, ingress question. I mean, just make, my only, depending on who's be using that, I mean, I drive big vehicles, so just be mindful of how people turn around.
Correct.
Because I don't want anyone to get banged, but that's kind of on you to figure that out with the design of the parking. But as long as the parking meets what you need, I mean, again, you don't have solid tenants yet.
Correct.
You said you have 9 bays, that's a lot.
I mean, our 3 focuses here with this project is going to be circulation, it's going to be landscaping, and it's going to be meeting the open space.
Okay, I mean, good for you. I mean, again, good for you. I'm, like Mr. French said, like, pleasantly surprised. Like, I knew you guys were out there somewhere. Just for the week. So thank you for presenting. The visuals are great. I appreciate all the different options you guys present us. And thank you for being open to our feedback.
Thank you to anybody that comes in here and invests in our village. Thank you very much. This place can be really unique. It's such a challenging parcel of land, as you've struggled with. But I think it could be challenging, which means it can be very, very unique. And it's one of the southern entrances to our village. So I really think that there could be something that could be really neat. It could really be the start of something for Old Dixie, and then getting into the east side of the road as well. So I applaud you for what you're trying to do. So they're 1 story at 27 feet, and I see that there's some big garage doors on there. You mentioned a blind company. I mean, this to me seems like it lends itself more to construction companies, and construction companies have more cars and more trucks. And my biggest concern is that we'd have a bunch of logoed and decaled trucks out front. And,
Right.
Is that consistent with the use that we're looking at when it comes to parking?
We wouldn't be looking for heavy machinery contractors or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, if it were to be something in the development field, it would be, installers of something like cabinets or like blinds, right? You're talking about maybe a sprint van or something of that nature. We're not thinking big trucks with cranes or any sort of front loaders or big heavy equipment there. At the end of the day, we want to stress the idea that we want some office space used where the business is going to be conducted, and so there's going to be that active frontage, and it's not just going to be a storage facility where before hours and after hours big trucks are going to be coming in and out.
Just to touch on your question, there are some protections in the code about outdoor storage and having decal vehicles out front. So if this did come forth through site plan approval, staff would likely propose some conditions of approval to ensure that there's no outdoor storage of materials. And I think that's why the interior bays kind of enable them to not have to worry about that and store everything inside. So I think it is a kind of a nice solution here.
I think I saw in the staff comments that I know we don't have a detailed landscape plan, but it's going to be tight to get our required open space, green space.
Yeah, they're a little short on it. I think they're over parked, so they can probably lose 2 parking spaces and meet that. I'm sure there's some solutions there.
Yeah, and like you said before, my concern is that maybe the tenant mix doesn't pan out that like we hope it will, and then you might end up a different use. So we might need more parking. So I'd hate to see us cut back on some. Maybe I don't know what can be done. I know, again, it's the challenge of this unique site. And I don't want to see, like I said, logoed cars out there, logoed trucks, they can park inside. The inside, you've got the big garage door. So is this akin to a big open space with like a lofted office space inside? Like, is it going to be 2 stories with like a second story loft, or trying to visualize what it's going to be like inside?
Yeah, that internal architecture hasn't been fleshed out just yet. But to my knowledge, no, it wouldn't be that.
Okay. Just seems like with a 27-foot high 1-story building, there's a lot of
what we're envisioning is a ground floor office facing Old Dixie, and then that back area would just be storage.
Again, this is something that is exciting to see something trying to be built on this. It's going to be a challenge. My concerns lie with the parking. Are we going to make all that work? And then maybe we don't anticipate it, but there'd be a little bit of a switch or a pivot in the use where it may trigger more. And I want to see us to get in a position where your client we're stuck, and there's not going to be a whole lot of give when it comes to the parking. So,
right.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to see what you can come back with. Thank you.
So I'll echo the other council members up here. Just thank you for wanting to invest in the village, and thank you for the thorough conceptual plan and presentation. I'll call it a preliminary justification letter was so helpful, and to have that level of attention and detail this early on is really fantastic and helpful, so thank you. I do think it's a great use of this site. I'm sure it's pretty hard pressed to find someone who wants to develop on such a skinny piece of property right up against railroad tracks, and you have, the freight trains and Brightline coming through. So I do think it's a great idea and a great use for the site. I'll say the same thing I said to the previous applicant with the grays and blue and whites, not against the architectural style, but again, if maybe try to find something just to a different pop of color or something to make it so it just doesn't look like that, the white, blue, grays that we see popping up everywhere. You say 3 buildings. The site plan very much looks like 2. Are the 2 of the buildings, are they sharing a wall, or are they going to be? Is there going to be a gap between them at all? What does that look like?
Yeah, they're pretty much sharing the wall there, in the middle. But yeah, right there where the cursor is.
So it's really going to look like 2 buildings, not 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that ingress egress was brought up, and from a fire access standpoint, you guys work that out with staff, so I'm not worried about that. But I do, the Old Dixie Bridge Road is our most dangerous intersection in DeQuesta, and your ingress and egress is pretty close to that. So I do there needs to be some consideration there. I don't know how people are going to turn if you're going north on Old Dixie, how you're going to turn left. into the property. Again, it's just really close to Bridge Road, which is already such a challenge. We're working with, you know, the county and are in talks with them often about any improvements that can be made at that intersection. So please keep that in mind as you're moving forward. And then, does the applicant own the Jupiter side of this property?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Any plans? Do you know what your plans are for that? If Justin, if you want to come up and speak at the podium, that'd be great.
Thank you. So I'm Justin Angel, by the way, the owner. Right now, I'm in the works with a purchaser, but if it does fall through and nothing goes through, I'm probably looking at donating it for some type of open buffer for Jupiter. It hasn't been fully thought out yet, but that's kind of where we're at. They're a little bit more difficult to work with. Like we spoke about before, I went and, you know, the place was a mess, and I kind of trimmed out all the hedges, and they had code enforcement for me trimming the hedges for them. But besides that, yeah, right now there's not like a full open concept on the Jupiter side. And going back to the tenants, I have a local shade guy that's been in shade business for about 20 years. He's looking to take one of the spots, and then another spot my wife was going to operate for a foundation we have for fostering dogs. So really it leaves almost one unit left that we don't really know who's going to be occupying it. So that's kind of where I'm at with this site. So, but it is 3 buildings, 4,500 square feet. The reason for the height is most subcontractors that have small businesses like to stack racks of supplies, whether it's like shades or plumbing fixtures and that. So going vertical, you can do up to like 22 foot in standard racks, and that gives you 4 shelving. So that was kind of the concept for that. And if someone did have a Sprinter van, the door was big enough for them to pull it in and have it concealed overnight during non-working hours. So that was the concept for that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that additional information. I have no other comments, and council is not voting on this tonight, of course, but I will see if there's any public comment. Mr. Bradford?
Good evening, Thomas Bradford, 44 Chestnut Trail, Tequesta. When I looked at the project online, I came up with a question, and then I have a comment about this. The question, I couldn't tell whether or not the CBS concrete wall that lines the perimeter of the eastern perimeter of this property, I can't tell whether they're going to demolish that and have just landscape open space in that sort of area, or are they keeping that CBS wall that has some trees that are not doing so well, the insets, and some that are doing okay. And then my comment is this, and I think based on the comments that you made that you're on board with this, and that when you have a difficult piece of land in a jurisdiction, in order to generate revenue for the government, you and other governments, and to facilitate economic activity within the community, it merits the council and the staff to work with the property owners to make it happen for the benefit of both the owners as well as the community. And so based on what I heard you say, I thank you for having that sort of attitude. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Bradford. And are you able to answer the question on that existing concrete wall?
Absolutely. So when I drive it, I've had issues visibility wise of like pulling out, and the wall is a big deterrent, and like it is kind of dangerous. I was going to recommend taking down the wall, and I think it would be nicer with having some landscaping buffer, especially shorter, so people could see when they're trying to pull out. Old Dixie isn't like the safest zone, especially around the turn more towards the Jupiter side, so I think taking down the wall would be a benefit, but once again, I was kind of leaving that up to council and the site plan to see how your thoughts on taking the wall down. But me personally, I would probably take the wall down, even though a tenant would probably like it better. I think it's safer and probably looks a lot nicer if we could do some type of landscape buffer.
Yes, I would prefer for the wall to be removed.
Yeah.
Removed, yeah.
So I honestly forgot about that wall because I tried not to look at the wall. I think there's so many creative landscapes out there that could totally be. I mean, I can't do it but I would more than be welcome to put on a hard hat and boots and a sledgehammer and help you take down that wall. We can make it an event as a small town. Just
I told them during the chili cook-off, anyone that wants to, take it down, I know they're welcome to.
I personally be in favor of bringing that wall down because the building is beautiful anyways, and then for me that's just going to kill the vibe because it's not a cement plant anymore.
Yeah. So, and there's not that much availability for green space, so the wall kind of takes a lot of that hedging and nice trees that could be there. So.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in the future.
Thank you.
All right, next agenda item 22, consider approval of a Kinley Horn contract to develop a water treatment master plan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Allison Felsberg, Utilities Deputy Director. Before you tonight is a work authorization for development of a water treatment master plan with Kimley Horn and Associates in an amount not to exceed $121,091.52. As discussed at the workshop last Monday, in recent review of our PFAS results, we will not meet the compliance deadline that's currently in 2029, proposed 2031. In order to come up with a game plan on how we will meet those compliance requirements, Kimley Horn will be working with us to develop that plan. And I have Nick Black here tonight with Kimley Horn to go over just kind of a background of why we're going to be doing this, what the game plan and approach is for the plan, and what our final deliverables and final result will be that will be presented to the council.
Awesome. Good evening. Nick Black with Kinley Horn for the record. So here tonight to talk about the water treatment master plan, essentially what that is. It's a project that's going to include collaboration with the village utility staff to develop a plan moving forward to maintain regulatory compliance for the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Try saying that multiple times fast, just PFAS for this discussion's sake. So working with staff to develop a cost-effective approach moving forward and maintaining regulatory compliance. I think it's important as we go through this to understand that this is not a problem or an issue that's unique to the village. A lot of other water purveyors and utilities have this PFAS challenge and are working towards implementation programs to maintaining compliance and removing PFAS from drinking water. Tonight, the discussion is going to be, we're going to go through the raw water supply to the treatment plant, the different treatment processes that are at the site. We're going to talk a little bit about PFAS, provide a little brief summary on the regulations, discuss the well field testing that has been done by staff to date. We'll talk about the treatment alternatives for PFAS that exist out there that other utilities are implementing, and then discuss the next steps that the village is doing moving forward. So, the village has two separate well fields that provide water to the water plant. There's a superficial well field, which is characterized as being more shallow. It's unconfined, which means it's susceptible to contamination, meaning if something were to be spilled on the surface of the ground, that chemical or constituent would find its way into the groundwater and potentially into the source water of the plant. That superficial aquifer has been the source water for the village's water system since the inception of the water system, so it's in use by not only by the village but a lot of other utilities in the area in that well field. So it's high in favorable constituents, alkalinity, hardness, but it also has some unfavorable constituents like organics and potential contamination such as PFAS. That water from the superficial well field, it flows to the plant where it's treated through filtration and disinfection. That's an example of a superficial well is on the left-hand side of that slide. The other treatment process in source water of the plant is through the Floridan well field. And essentially, that's a much deeper well, cased down to 800, 1,200 feet deep. It's in a confined aquifer, so that means essentially it's not as susceptible to contamination. There hasn't been any reports of PFAS contamination in the Florida in this area of the state that we're aware of. The water is it's very salty, essentially, so it requires a very energy-intensive process to treat it, and that's why the village has built that RO plant 20 years ago. And it's in what's called an artesian, it has an artesian pressure, which basically means if you were to open the well at grade, water would free flow out. So there's a lot of capacity associated with the Floridan So this is a slide that just shows an aerial of the treatment plant. You will see that the rated capacity of the plant is 6.33 million gallons per day, or MGD. Normal production of this facility is around the 3 million gallons per day, so that's important to note that the water plant doesn't always produce its rated capacity of the facility. There are 10 superficial aquifer wells and then 4 fluoride aquifer wells that feed each of the respective plants, and the capacities for each treatment process are shown in that mini diagram. So I mentioned the RO process is very energy intensive, and what it is, it removes all these salts from solution, and in doing so it creates a very unstable, aggressive product water. What you all do in the Village and what a lot of other utilities do that have this RO process is do what's called a blend of their superficial groundwater to help balance out that aggressive nature of that water to provide your customers with stable drinking water. Currently, those blend rates range from 70-30, 70% being RO, 30% being superficial, to 60-40. And some other utilities that have this mechanism, or the issue associated with PFAS, do have to implement some other measures to stabilize if that superficial aquifer is compromised. And that can include chemical stabilization, which would be basically costs in perpetuity associated with buying chemicals. This is a picture of the post-treatment clear well, where essentially the product water blends with the superficial filtered groundwater. It's disinfected, it's sent to the ground storage tanks, and it's pumped to your customers. So we'll talk a little bit about PFAS and the regulations pertaining to PFAS. So essentially PFAS is referred to commonly as the manufactured chemical. It comes from consumer products, non-stick items, cookware, you name it. It's everywhere. It's very pervasive. There are firefighting foam is also a contributor to PFOS. And essentially, it's a very difficult thing to treat because that carbon and fluorine bond is so strong it doesn't degrade naturally in the environment. So it requires an intensive treatment process for removal. So PFAS is measured in parts per trillion. Just to provide some perspective on how small a part per trillion is, that's 1 grain of salt in 10 million gallons of water, 1 inch in 16 million miles, 1 drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So you can see how small this is, just having some perspective as we're looking at some of these numbers moving forward. There are 2 test methods for PFAS in drinking water. They're 533, 537.1. They're highly sensitive. The prior, we'll talk a little bit about the regulations, but the prior administration administered the National Primary Drinking Water Standards for PFAS, which outlined 6 PFAS constituents, and that has changed since. We'll talk a little bit about that, but there are 29 PFAS contaminants that were identified in the unregulated contaminant monitoring role, which essentially every 5 or so years, the EPA administers a list of contaminants that they want utilities to test for. And in doing that, that's kind of like the pipeline, the beginning of the pipeline towards developing drinking water regulations for specific contaminants. There's thousands of PFAS contaminants that have been identified, and not all of them are measurable. So as you can tell, that in itself is a very indicative problem associated with PFAS. So this is a regulatory timeline. I think it's important to note the regulatory challenges, or the upcoming regulatory compliance deadline is a challenge, but PFAS is nothing new. Teflon's been around since the 1930s. Firefighting foam has been around since the 1960s. So for about 100 years, PFAS has been introduced in the environment. We mentioned the UCMR. In 2016, the EPA released a health advisory level of PFAS for 70 parts per trillion. Fast forward to 2024. Prior EPA administration had administered basically requirements for 2 PFAS constituents, and basically this cocktail mixture of 4 different PFAS constituents that make up what they call the hazard index. And as part of that, there was a regulatory compliance deadline of 2029. Since that, the new administration has issued a press release where essentially they communicated the intent to roll back the requirement on the hazard index and also pushed back the compliance deadline for PFAS, knowing that this is somewhat of an unfunded mandate for all water purveyors to meet. So these were the primary drinking water regulations, and as I mentioned, that those 4 constituents are no longer going to be considered as part of that. And that's just a press release. We're expecting those regulations to be updated soon. So we'll talk a little bit about the well field testing that's been done today. So essentially what I wanted to communicate on this slide is this is all data that the village staff had provided us with. And these are raw groundwater samples from each of the village's wells that provide water to the water plant. This isn't the water going into the distribution system. This is the water coming into the water plant. So I think it's important to make that distinction. But in a way, it does contribute to the final drinking water quality. So it's important to keep that in mind. And essentially what I want to point out here is that the concentration of PFAS and PFOA range from being below the upcoming MCL or maximum contaminant level all the way to a factor of 11x higher. And again, keeping in mind that's in parts per trillion. So having that data, one of the things we wanted to do in coordination with the village was review the PFAS concentration, basically develop like a little bit of a math exercise to see how much of PFAS was making its way to the drinking water. And that's based on how much water an actual surficial well can produce. May have not mentioned this earlier, but the surficial wells tend to be lower producers when compared to the Floridan, and they're variable in terms of how much they can produce. So just because a well has higher PFAS concentration doesn't mean it's contributing to the majority of the PFAS. It's kind of like a mass balance, if you will. So looking at that, evaluating different blend percentages of the RO product water when compared to the surficial blend water, determining the future regulatory compliance issues that might come with those different blend rates, and then also evaluating different demand projections. So as part of your water system, you have demands that are projected out in the future, and a certain window of growth. So looking at that and coinciding with the treatment process on site. So this is the table that was developed preliminarily, and essentially what you see here is that at a blend percentage of 10%, you start to see the exceedance of PFOS, the future MCL for PFOS being above the 4 parts per trillion. So the main takeaway out of this is that the blend rate needs to either be minimized or treatment of the surficial groundwater needs to happen to maintain regulatory compliance. And even though it sounds like a simple task, well, just reduce your blend, for every action, there's a reaction. In this case, could be compromising the stability of the finished water. So it's not just reduce that and increase the other one. So for surficial treatment or options that have been implemented in the area as far as the surficial aquifer, there's different treatment options. There's ion exchange, selective ion exchange, granular activated carbon, nanofiltration. And I can go into more of these as you want, if you want to this late in the evening. But essentially what it is, they're all separation process or absorption process. So we're taking the PFAS out of the water, but there is a cost associated with disposal of that, whether that's incineration of media or it's disposal through a deep injection well. That could be a cost of perpetuity or a significant upfront capital cost associated with something like a deep injection well. Another thing that's going to be looked at as part of this evaluation is shifting capacity from the surficial to the Florida. And I mentioned earlier that reduction in blend does provide it provides a benefit in terms of reducing the overall PFAS in the water. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't contribute to the good minerals that we want in finished water, the hardness, the alkalinity, and those constituents. So there's going to be an evaluation in terms of what infrastructure would be needed to support stabilizing the finished drinking water. So this slide is intended to just go through the village's ongoing efforts. Allison had mentioned the current energy improvements project, the water plant improvements project. There'll be electrical upgrades that are needed to support the RO plant moving forward. There's a membrane replacement project for the RO facility, and I believe those membranes are 15, 20 years old. So typical lifespan for those are 8 to 10. So they've gotten good life out of those. It's just a maintenance thing that needs to happen over time. There's the filter vessel rehab project that Allison had also mentioned, which is needed to be able to maintain use of the existing surficial wells that might not have as high a PFAS concentration, but actually have higher things like iron that do need to be treated, and that's the reason for that treatment infrastructure there. The RO concentrate permit renewal, which is essentially an operating permit to be able to discharge concentrated groundwater out of the Florida aquifer. Surficial well 28, and then a development of an operational matrix for the well field for looking at those PFAS concentrations, trying to mitigate that. So as part of this project, the water treatment master plan, we're going to evaluate all the raw water sources, capacities, look at the Floridan, the surficial, evaluate different treatment alternatives that could be implemented, looking at cost analysis, operating costs, capital costs, doing an evaluation there. We're going to look at evaluating shifting capacity from the surficial to the Floridan, which a lot of other utilities in the area have taken steps towards. So in doing that evaluation, determining cost-effective approach and collaborating with the village to develop that plan. And then as part of that plan, looking at an implementation schedule, because as we know, we don't snap our fingers and things get built immediately. It takes a lot of planning, projects that set up the next project, that set up the next one for charting that path for regulatory compliance. And all while doing this work, looking at funding options to be able to construct the improvements. So with that, I'll thank you for your time. Available for any questions.
Thank you. Allison, do you have anything to add? Nope.
Not specifically. I think Nick did a great job of going over some of that information. One thing I do want to point out is that it's just important. I think I mentioned this at the workshop, but to take a really good holistic view at what our approach will be to solve this issue. Because it's not just a simple, this will work, so let's do that, because there's a lot of implications to a lot of the decisions with regulatory compliance, with a lot of these other components, financial impacts, like Nick was mentioning, our demand in the future, just taking into account all of these different components and making sure we're really looking at it from a holistic view.
Thank you. All right, council, I'll open it up for discussion.
Just have one question. Water is public safety. Do you both believe we're doing all we can to get in front of this and have a good plan?
100%. I think that right now, even in the interim steps, we're looking to do as much as we can to reduce the concentration of PFAS, even though it's not required at this time. We are also working with the PFAS settlement for the 3M DuPont settlement and the Tyco BASF settlement. So we're looking at funding through that as well, so see what we can do to mitigate any current concentrations of PFAS. And then obviously we're working as quickly as possible to get solutions and implement those in a timely manner to make sure we meet those deadlines.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, sir.
Sure.
You must really like math. I just want to point out that math equation that was up there. I do not wish that on anybody.
That's the EPA, that's not me, but that's okay.
So all that engineering you guys do. So thank you guys for looking into that. Like you said, public safety, water goes hand in hand with me because you put it in your body, and we've all seen what happens to people when you don't get the cleanest water we can provide. And I know our residents hold us to a high standard to make sure we're doing our best. So let us know what we need to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just second that. I mean, it's great to see that we're doing everything. We're getting ahead of it and doing everything we can right now, but it's an important topic. So thank you.
Yeah, great job. I never thought that I would learn anything about in my lifetime PFAS, but I've learned more than 3 years about PFAS than I never thought I would ever learn. So thank you for what you're doing and the assistance you're doing in the village. And Allison, great job.
I just have a couple questions, and clearly I'm not the expert at this, so some of them might seem naive. But in the staff memo, you do talk about just eliminating our SA use as an option, right? You're going to analyze all the options. Just my thought off the top of my head, again, not being educated in this field, I know with any type of utility, having redundancy is really important, especially when it's a public safety matter, being able to provide water. So when you are considering those, like if we were to lean towards the option of, just coming off of the SA, like is that going to affect our redundancy in the future and having that backup should we ever need it in case of an emergency? So just keep that in mind. I'm sure you will. You guys are the experts, but that just at a high level, that was what popped into my head right away. You mentioned if we do the PFAS, the discharge, you mentioned a deep injection well. Can you explain that?
Yeah, you want me to? Okay. So essentially, you all have the RO plant that has an outfall, right, to surface water, and it's all brine. It's concentrated salt water essentially. So it's going to a place that's of similar quality, and that's been permitted through the department. Once we're talking about a different aquifer that has a different constituents, and some of which is contamination, that type of outfall does not exist for the nano process, which essentially is the same process as RO. It's just essentially think of it as a looser membrane, so there's less rejection associated with it because you're removing divalent ions instead of monovalent ions. I'll tell you about that later if you want.
Yes, please.
Essentially, it's a lower pressure process.
I was hoping you were going to offer that.
It's a membrane softening process. I don't know how to answer it without being technical, but that's what it is.
So you're taking the PFAS discharge from the filtration system and injecting it deep in. Maybe I'm totally misunderstanding. It seems odd to me if you're taking something. Like we're so concerned about something that's bad for the environment and bad for human consumption, but then you're gonna inject it back into the earth? I don't know. Am I missing it?
So the anticipation and trying to be unbiased when looking at this, if we did go to a full RO facility, there's no PFAS in the Florida aquifer. It's been tested in multiple places throughout the Florida aquifer, and we haven't seen it detected yet. So we don't anticipate that there is any PFAS in the Florida aquifer. So
right, no, I got that. Maybe my question, maybe I misunderstood what you said. Is if we keep the SA and there's options to filter the PFAS out of the SA, you have that discharge.
Yes.
I thought you mentioned there was like two different discharge options and one was a deep injection well. Yeah. That's what caught my attention. I'm like, so you were taking PFAS and injecting it back into the environment. Is that, or did I totally misunderstand
no,
that?
that's accurate. And essentially a lot of other utilities are doing that, but those deep injection wells are about 4,000, 5,000 feet below land surface, and they're in the boulder zone. And a hydrogeologist can explain that much better than I can, but it's kind of like the thought process of, out of sight and no concern of potential contamination into the aquifers that are above it. The other treatment processes that we talk about, more absorption processes, is carbon and ion exchange. And essentially what that requires is an incineration process. And it requires a special facility that incinerates it up to a temperature that's high enough to destroy that PFAS. So, and it's up for debate with all these contaminants that are known, that some of which can't be detected, how high that temperature needs to go for all those contaminants to be destroyed. So it's a very complicated issue, and that is a cost. You buy the resin to load the vessel, you have to pay for the resin, but on the next cycle after that resin is exhausted, you'll have to pay for the disposal of that resin and purchase of new resin. So that's going to be a cost in perpetuity if that were an option similar to granular activated carbon. And the other alternative we talked about was the nanofiltration membrane softening and disposal through a deep injection well.
Okay, thank you for, yes, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear with my question from the start, but that does, I guess you said 4,000, I mean, that's really deep, but still, it does seem odd. We're taking something out of the environment and just put it right back in, no matter how deep it is, but again, not the expert, it just definitely caught my ear.
All those things will be considered the environmental possibility in the future. There are regulations that were proposed related to PFAS and deep injection wells, but the amount of PFAS that you would have to inject on a daily basis would be astronomical to meet those limitations for a drinking water plant. But those possible future regulatory impacts will also be considered when looking at these different solutions that we'll evaluate.
Okay, and then I know I asked you this question at the workshop. So on a consent agenda, we approved a CEI services agreement for your firm for the replacement of the filtration system for the SA water. So I hope, I'm sure you are looking in. I know you said probably by the time we get to a place where we have to make these adjustments, those might be at the end of their useful life, but anywhere, immediate need, anything we're actively working on right now that you could give input on if we need to pivot. I want to be as efficient as possible with our water user fees. Obviously, this is a big, it's a big setback, right, to have this pop up and knowing that we're going to have to deal with this now. So I just, we had a lot of discussion up here, and it was hard to raise our water fees and have that $10 capital recovery charge. You guys are taking the right steps, but if there's any efficiencies and we need to do immediate pivots to maybe save some money in the long run, I would really appreciate that being brought to us.
Yes, after the workshop, I did go in and do some deep diving into some of the current projects. I had some assistance and some review with that as well, and I'm hoping at the next council meeting I can bring more information about that. Some of it does pertain to the project that's out to bid right now, and some other projects that are underway and in certain phases within work. So I didn't want to give that information yet, but I should have more information for you at the next council meeting regarding that.
Fantastic, thank you. And then I have more of a question for Keith, my final question. I know we joined that PFAS lawsuit. We haven't heard anything, and that was quite some time ago that we joined that. Any update there? And I know you said you're looking at some settlements, and but with the lawsuit we specifically joined,
So,
what's going on?
A little bit of background. 1998, 2000 is when these big class action lawsuits were started. These take a long time. Fast forward to like 2023, settlement agreements were announced, and these are settlement agreements in the tens of billions of dollars with like 3M, forget Tyco.
3M and DuPont have one, and then Tyco and BASF have
Right.
one.
So around that period of time, that is when the village, we retained Ventura Law, and they're basically a mass tort complex litigation group that is representing lots of clients in terms of excuse me. So there's public water system clients, which is what we're talking about. There are groundwater contamination clients, and then there are individual personal injury clients. So we're a public water system client, and Ventura Law is representing us. The village is a phase 2 public water system, which means that we got involved after there's a 2023 date, which is when the big settlement was announced. We came in after that, so we're considered a phase 2 public water system client. The current deadline for phase 2 claims is, I believe, July of next year, and after that, presumably before that, the phase 1 water system providers are dealt with, and then people like us, phase 2 clients, will be dealt with. We have submitted test results to the Ventura Law team. I can't speak to the substance of what those test results are, but they have them. So we're in that right now. I guess the answer to your question is next summer is when we should expect to start getting some more answers on what we may.
She's talked to them recently, so she can give an update.
Correct.
Sorry, I just had a meeting with them yesterday, and I sent an email to them this morning, just kind of recapping our meeting, and I'm waiting to just get confirmation on what I believe the status is before I send that to Jeremy. But from my understanding, so the 3M DuPont settlement, there is the phase 1 and phase 2, like Keith had stated. We were too late to get into the phase 1, but we are in the phase 2. And the deadline for that is July of next year. And there is opportunity to still submit for possible reimbursement for at least percentages of costs currently that we're incurring. And with both the phase 1 and phase 2 in each 3M DuPont Tyco BASF settlement, there's what's called an action fund and then a special needs fund. So the special needs fund is related to testing. So we just finished that with the Tyco BASF, and don't quote me on the number, but we're getting roughly $26,000 from that. And then for 3M DuPont, we are entering the phase 2 claim for that. And that is July. We'll be submitting reimbursement for possible costs related to well 28 test well drilling. I don't think we'll get to the actual well 28 construction by that point in time, but I did message our contractor related to that to see what the timeline is for the test well, and hopefully at least get design of the well under that cost incursion, and that would be roughly 5% of that cost that we would be able to recoup. They also are allowing us to enter the phase 2 for the Tyco BASF, and we can also submit more testing that has to be done by December 31st of this year. So we are looking at going back and retesting all of our wells again, just to make sure we have updated concentrations on each of those wells. But like I said, this was just my interpretation of the meeting that we had with our lawyers. But as soon as I get a confirmation back from that email, I'll send it to Jeremy for him to communicate.
Okay, thank you so much for that update, both of you. All right, any other council comment or questions?
No, ma'am.
No.
Any public comment? No? All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Agenda item 23, consider approval of a new Chevy truck for the Utilities Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Allison Felsberg, Utilities Deputy Director. Before you tonight is approval for a new truck to replace one of our distribution trucks. The truck being replaced is a 2014 Ford F-150, and it will be replaced with a Chevy Silverado. The reason this is on as a new agenda item tonight is because we had budgeted $40,000 for this truck. The cost of it came in at $42,039.25, which is $2,040 over budget. For this, we did have another project to replace the roll-up doors at our Bridge Road property, and that came in under budget. So we are suggesting to use the extra funds from that project to fund the replacement of this truck to be able to buy the Chevy Silverado.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions?
I'll just thank you for being budget conscious, and I still say, gotta figure out how to get on that vehicle plan. They're getting cars for $42,000.
I know, right?
I get one of those.
Doesn't exist in our world.
I got some teenagers coming up. I gotta get some cars.
Any public comment? All right, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, agenda item 24, ordinance number 12-25, first reading. It is to process reasonable accommodations for certified recovery residents, and this is a result of a state preemption from last session.
So I'll read the title and then I'll give you some background on this. This is ordinance 1225. Ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending Chapter 22, Community Development, to create an entirely new article entitled Article 3, Reasonable Accommodations, codify the village's existing process for processing reasonable accommodation requests in housing, including requests from certified recovery residences as required by Florida Statute 397-487, repealing prior Resolution 518, provided each and every other section, subsection, Chapter 22 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify effective date, and for other purposes. So back in 2018, the village adopted a reasonable accommodation policy process, and that was by Resolution 518. So a reasonable accommodation request is something that is established through the Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. And what it is a method for somebody with a disability who requires something that is contrary to a local government's land development or zoning regulations, to be able to an exception to that regulation that allows them, despite their disability, to enjoy housing the same way that people without disabilities can enjoy housing. An example might be somebody with a physical disability that requires some type of a ramp or other thing that your zoning code might not allow. Other examples might be somebody that lives in a single family district that doesn't allow certain types of non-domestic animals, and they have, best example I can think of, because I've had to do this as a hearing officer in Martin County. Well, I have an emotional support pot-bellied pig, and your code doesn't allow people to have that animal, so I'm asking for a reasonable accommodation to let me have that animal. I've seen way worse than that, like chickens and goats. But
let's say goat.
Truly. So that's what a reasonable accommodation is, and then there's a process that allows that request to be processed, and as long as it meets certain fairly easy to meet criteria, then the reasonable accommodation is granted, and the person is allowed to occupy housing, even though that with their accommodation, even though it's contrary to the jurisdiction's code. The other typical request for a reasonable accommodation occurs when a residence provider wants to have housing for people in recovery from substance abuse. So recovering substance abuse, someone recovering from alcoholism or drug addiction is considered somebody with a disability, not an active user, but somebody in recovery. Is under the Americans with Disabilities Act and Fair Housing Act is considered somebody with a disability. The most common, in my experience, scenario is somebody wants to provide housing for a group of people with that disability. The best practice will tell you that people in recovery are better served when they're in a group setting. So typically, and in Tequesta, there will be you'll have a definition for the term family, which includes a limit on the number of unrelated people that can live together as the functional equivalent of a related group of people. And it might be 3, it might be 4, it might be whatever it is. That number exists as your definition for family. The recovery residence scenario will always be more than 2 or 3 or 4, typically 6 or 7, or whatever the number is, up to what the building, the building has housing limitations. You can only hold so many warm bodies, whether they're disabled or not. So, but that number will typically exceed your definition for family in terms of unrelated people. So a reasonable accommodation will be requested to, I want to have 6 people that are unrelated. They're disabled in terms of being recovering substance abusers, so which is contrary to your code, but we want that reasonable accommodation to be honored. So that's a typical reasonable accommodation request as well. As I said, in 2018, the village adopted a reasonable accommodation process, which is pretty much handled at the staff level. Request is made, the manager or designee working with the attorney reviews the request, makes a determination as to whether or not the criteria are met. It can't be an excessive financial burden on the village. It can't fundamentally alter the village's zoning scheme. If either of those things happen, and it's not reasonable. So last year in the legislature, a bill was passed into law that says all local governments have to have in their code this process, and specifically as to apply to a certified recovery residence, which certified means it's certified with Florida Association of Recovery Residences, and it meets certain criteria. Both the facility and the manager meet that criteria. So our resolution pretty much captured that. We already had it by resolution. What's before you tonight is moving that resolution into the code and specifically saying that it applies to certified recovery residences. It didn't used to say that, but by its own terms, it would have applied anyway. So that's what's really before you. It's a long explanation for saying we took the resolution, put it in the code, and clarified that it applies to certified recovery residences. The legislation, the statute that was passed, requires this to be done by the end of the year, or by January 1st. So, and first reading would be tonight, second reading would be in December. You'd be in compliance with that statutory deadline. That's what this is all about. That's what it'll bring you into conformance with the statute. I can say that I'm not aware of any requests for reasonable accommodation that have ever been made in Tequesto since I've been working here. Which isn't to say it can't happen in the future, but whether it's for a certified recovery residence or an emotional support animal or an accessibility elevator or ramp, that's what this does, and that's why we're here tonight.
Thank you, Keith, for explaining the why behind this ordinance. Council, do you have any comments or questions?
Is there a reason why the state did that? Like, is there an issue with them? Not with the state, we all know that answer. Because I'm very familiar with the one type of recovery residences. Because I've lived near them.
I suppose that there is background in the legislative history and the staff reports that were circulated when the bill was adopted, but I don't have those in front of me. Why do they do half the things?
I'm curious if it was like a mega problem. All right.
I have a few comments, but I think questions now for clarification. My initial is I'm 100% against this and would rather delay it for further evaluation, but you're telling me we have to file this by January 1st?
Well, the statute, that's what the statute says. And remember, you've already got this policy by resolution. This is not a new substantive change to what we do in Tequesta. It's simply moving the policy that the council adopted by resolution, putting it in the code, and saying, and yes, this applies to certified recovery residences. It does anyway. So if somebody was to come in today, before this is in the code, and ask for that reasonable accommodation, the policy is already in place, and we would implement it. This is simply putting it in your code book.
And I guess I just want to be clear, can we leave it as is and be in compliance with the state? How we have it written right now? Because I think when you say streamline, and to me streamline just means making it easier. And I can follow up with additional comments, but my intent is to not make this easier. And so I guess it goes back to the original question, are we required to change anything that we currently have by the state? Or if we left it as is, we would still be in compliance?
In my opinion, what's before you complies with the statute.
Okay.
Because the statute is about reasonable accommodations for certified recovery residences. So.
And that keeps us clear from the state. Okay. So then I guess my second question is, the current bills that's out there for certified recovery residents right now, it's going through the state. is this different because they're changing, it's a current bill that's not passed yet, and they're wanting to streamline all the cities, and it changes the definitions of single family home and many other things to streamline, where basically, just like anything else, it erodes our home rule again, and it treats us the same as Miami. And I can elaborate on those points, but I'm having trouble understanding if these are two different bills.
Well, the bill I'm talking about was from last year.
Right, okay.
This is, whatever is happening this year, we will deal with after the session is over, and whatever gets through and signed into law, we will deal with. But this is a requirement from last year.
Okay. So we're voting on this just more of a process, not that we necessarily have a choice.
Yes.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't really have no questions. I just, I'm with Mr. French. I don't really love it. It's my favorite thing.
Do the recovery residents, just a question, do the recovery residents, they fall, the way I read our code is that they fall into the special exception use for group homes, or are they specifically identified, or is this considered a group home?
I would say certified recovery residence could be a type of group home. A group home can be all sorts of different things. It can be a residence for unrelated people in recovery. It could be, you could have a group home or any other kind of disability. You could have a group home for orphaned children. You could have a group home for elderly, homeless people. You can have a group home can be for anything. This is for people in recovery from substance abuse.
Versus mentally disabled or physically disabled. When I think of a traditional group home, that's what I think of.
Yeah, a group home can be for any group of people who are unrelated. I think it has to be 7 or more to qualify as by definition, a group home. But yeah, group home can be.
And our code allows these recovery residences in R1, our residential?
Correct.
Are we required to allow that?
If you want to be in compliance with the Federal Fair Housing Act and Americans with Disabilities Act.
Answers my question. And do we have any recovery residences in residential neighborhoods at this point?
Are you asking?
Yeah, I mean, do we know?
I don't know.
Single families or?
And a single family residence?
I'm not aware of any in Tequesta, which doesn't mean there might not be one, but I'm not aware of it if there is.
They would have to be registered, they'd have to have a BTR and.
Correct.
We think there's some type of protection that we would be notified. Because they could just be living there and not registered. They could be certified or registered with the state, but might just come in and just look like a bunch of people in there.
Well, they wouldn't have to go through any process if they met all of our definitions. So if you had only 2 unrelated people, and that's all they had, technically, no, they wouldn't have to go through any process. But that model doesn't work. So I would find it extremely unlikely. The more likely scenario is that if somebody wanted to come in, their model would require more unrelated people to reside in that residence than our code allows. And then they would have to go through this process and we would know about it. If they snuck it in and are flying under the radar and nobody knows about it, I mean, we would have to learn about it. Again, I'm not aware of anybody ever making a complaint that my neighbors are doing this or anything of the sort.
I just would hope that we would be able to identify that type of a residence in a residential neighborhood with young
Typically
kids.
there are telltale signs, because the people who are in these types of residential scenarios are getting treatment somewhere else, off-site. So typically, what you see is that there will be some type of transportation that arrives early in the morning and picks everybody up, takes them wherever they take them, and brings them back at the end of the day after they're from the treatment facility. That's typically what you see. So when that happens, again, typically somebody will complain about that or comment and reach out to code enforcement or the village manager's office or whomever. But again, in Tequesta, I'm not aware of that.
Vice Mayor, can I piggyback a question onto what you just asked?
Sure.
So what about townhouses that are a little more east in Tequesta?
Single family, multifamily, it doesn't matter. They would still have to go through the process, and whatever number of people that it can hold is what it can hold, and whatever they're requesting is what they're requesting, and we would process the request. But again, I've heard of none.
And I would imagine that my last point is kind of moot, because if they're doing a reasonable accommodation request, they're already here and living in that. But it looks like that there's grade language sufficient that it can be denied if it's not reasonable or imposes undue financial administrative burdens on the village or requires a fundamental alteration to the village's zoning scheme. I mean, so sounds like there's denying the reasonable accommodation requests is really a belts and suspenders approach, because that recovery residence is already here, I would imagine. And they're now asking for some type of accommodation for a ramp or any service horse or something like that. But we could say it's so far outside of our scope of our current zoning scheme that it could technically deny it, correct?
Those are and that language comes from court proceedings, from court cases, the fundamental alteration to the zoning scheme, the financial burden, that comes from judicial proceedings. So, I mean, we would have to have evidence to hang our hat on, and then, if it's denied, there's an appeal process. If it's denied at the staff level, it would go to a magistrate. If it's denied at the magistrate, then they can appeal to the circuit court. Those are the standards that the courts also will use in evaluating a denial. So, it's like any other quasi-judicial proceeding where there has to be evidence that we can point to justify the denial in the record.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have no comment. Is there any public comment? All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Moving on, agenda item 25, resolution 22-25, which is a budget amendment to our previous fiscal year budget.
Now we're getting to the good stuff.
Yeah.
This is for the Village Hall Annex that they're building, and remember, it's park. Most of the cost of this is running cable, Mr. Gomberg, and cameras, and putting cameras up. So that's most of the cost. There's some other ancillary. But there's $53,000 coming out of the general fund. There's $17,000 coming out of the building fund. And there is $53,000 coming out of the special law enforcement fund to pull this together.
Thank you. Council, any comments or questions for Jeff?
Not for me.
No, ma'am.
I have none.
All right, any public comment? No. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And item 26, resolution number 23-25 for some amendments to our capital asset policy.
Yes, ma'am. OMB, the Office of Management and Budget at the federal level, changed their uniform guidance. Uniform guidance basically tells us what we have to do to spend federal money. They're trying to make it a little easier to get through the process and get it done. They gave us the opportunity to increase equipment and other assets, machinery, from 5,000 to 10,000, which is in line with their policy. And then I'm taking the opportunity to use industry best practice and get buildings and improvements up from 25,000 to 50,000 for capital asset and infrastructure, which are bridges and roads, from 25,000 to 75,000. And that just gives us a little less accounting dancing to do. Do not get rid of our assets until we use them up. They're, for instance, 12-year cars. That's a good long time to have a car, and that's the way we look at it. So we try to use it, and then get rid of it for basically scrap. So that's why I'm asking you to approve that. It's the only change in this.
Great, thank you. Council, any comments or questions?
Ma'am.
Any public comment? Nope. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Agenda item 27, consider approval of purchasing 2 new Palo Alto firewalls. Brad?
Good evening, Council. Keith, it's been a long time.
I was
Yes,
going to say, I haven't seen you up here in a while. Same spot.
Yeah, so our current firewall solution has been around since early 2019. Palo Alto is phasing the chassis out, and it's time to replace the hardware. This also includes our annual services renewal. It's a typical life cycle, so we've gotten some good use out of them. They're end of life in the chassis, so we're doing this as a proactive measure so that replace them before they go end of life, and we can continue services.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Brad?
Thank you.
Oh, ma'am.
Nope. Any public comment? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Agenda item 28, consider a replacement of multiple vehicles for the Public Works Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Doug Chambers, Public Works. This agenda item is the request to replace 4 of our oldest vehicles in our fleet. 3 of them are in the Public Works Department, and then 1 is the 2017 Ford Explorer from the Building Department that will actually transfer to the Police Department, and then we'll replace the 2011 Ford Focus, which is the Citizens on Patrol vehicle. And the reason the Building Department is replacing that, they need more of a robust vehicle for storm and flood responses. In the Public Works Department, we are replacing an F-150 for 2026 F-150, another F-150. We're replacing that with an F-250 utility truck, and then we're also replacing a Chevy Impala with a Ford Maverick. Funding is approved in the 2026 budget. Pricing is from the Florida Sheriff's Association contract. It's almost a 30% discount off of retail pricing. That's what the government entities receive, and that's where we typically purchase our vehicles from. We will surplus the 3 Public Works vehicles and then the Citizens on Patrol vehicle once we receive the vehicles as well.
Thank you. Council, anything for Doug?
No.
Nope. Any public comment? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda item 29, consider approval of a fire rescue replacement, a big vehicle replacement.
So I can lead off with this item. This item is to seek approval for the purchase of a new rescue apparatus for the fire department. The current vehicle is a reserve vehicle from 2010. Typically, these vehicles have a useful life of 15 years. Maintenance, reliability, downtime, continuity with our current frontline rescue were all considered when making this request. Pricing for this vehicle is based off the Florida Sheriff's contract bid. We are expecting an estimated 2-year lead time or build time for this vehicle. This vehicle is estimated, was established in the vehicle replacement fund for large vehicles. Within our vehicle replacement fund, we have different funds, but then we also, within the general fund, we have large vehicles versus our other vehicles. So this one is considered, and so with that, I know we've talked about this many times over the years. with that, we ask for approval so we can get this build beginning and hopefully receive it in the next few years. So.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything to add?
It's just time. You know, it's 15 years old, and I appreciate Mr. Allen's help and Mr. Snyder, who left. Jeff has helped me with it, and then our apparatus committee got this across the finish line. We did a lot of work recently to get it down. The prices are, I'm in the wrong business. I should be building fire trucks and rescues, honestly. But they did a lot of work, and we got it into a reasonable price range, and it'll serve the citizens well for many years to come.
Any comments or questions for the chief?
Great job keeping that alive for 15 years. It's impressive.
Yeah, it's on life support. I'm not gonna lie to you. So it's definitely been through its paces, but.
All I can say is I've ridden in the current one, and I hope to not ride in the new one.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, great job, and again, working on the scope and costs. I know, I used to ask Jeremy all the time, because Chief Troop had this vehicle replacement on his standing report every single month. So I'm sure he's gonna be happy to know that it finally got approved, but I do know staff's intention was to kind of get the vehicle replacement spread out a little bit, because we were going to see a lot of compression. We just bought a ladder truck and engine. If we were to buy that rescue right away, like all of those would have to be replaced at the same time. So it is fiscally responsible to spread those out. So thank you for staff being on top of that and your patience. And I'm very excited to see this move forward now.
It was a full learning process for me. I used to ride those trucks, and it was, why can't they just buy us a new one? It's not that easy. Now I'm learning that it definitely is not that easy. So it was an interesting process, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I hope it's a few years away, but I appreciate all the help. I did not do it alone. Chief Troop started, and then we got it across the finish line. So.
You got it across the finish line. Great job.
Again, to your point, I saw Chief Troop on Saturday at Chili Cook-Off, and he asked me about the truck. So.
Every month, I'm like, Jeremy, every month, what are we doing?
In Mr. Allen's defense, in my second month here, he said, please take the rescue off the agenda. We don't want to hear about it anymore. In October. So that is that was a conversation we had. So.
Yes, no, it is time, so this is good, yes. All right, any public comment? Oh, all right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Our final agenda item tonight is agenda item 30, resolution 24-25, which is our legislative platform. And Keith or Jeremy will give a little spiel, but I just want to say too, we wanted to bring this in November. We end up in a disadvantage when it's early session, because we know Palm Beach County League of Cities, we finished our platform, but FLC is not done. Those of us who are in committees know. But if we don't, council have consensus on what to advocate for now, we're missing out on committee weeks. So we're bringing this forward knowing that we might update it in December if there's changes with either leagues, anything we personally see. But we want to be able to start advocating during these committee weeks, or else we're going to be behind. So that's why I wanted to bring it forward now. And then Keith or Jeremy, do either of you have anything to add?
Just high level, this tracks the legislative priorities adopted by the Florida League of Cities legislative policy committees, and then it also attaches as an exhibit the Palm Beach County League of Cities legislative priority statement, and supports that as well. It is written with intentionally at a higher level, and as opposed to drilling down into detail to allow some flexibility. It really captures the legislative priorities that both state and local League of Cities have adopted at this point, and supports those.
Okay, Jeremy, anything else?
The only other one, I think the council supported the exemption for clerks, which wasn't necessarily a priority issue for Florida League Cities, but I think there's some items within Florida League Cities that didn't necessarily come out as priority issues that the way that this is written, we'll still be able to support or oppose some legislation depending on how that comes forward and what Florida League of Cities stance is on, or Palm Beach County League of Cities, if they take a stand that I think the way this is written, it gives us some flexibility, obviously protecting home rule and the One Water, initiatives, things like that. So I think it was well written, so we have some flexibility in that for our staff. I think the clerk the clerk exemption to the council, we brought that up a month or so ago or at some point, so we will make sure that is memorialized in there if we could.
So the motion would be to add that because it's not on here, correct?
Right.
And then
I think we're still safe the way it's written, but I think since council did take that, did specifically take that stance, I think we should put it in here.
And I know that the e-bikes and electric vehicles, that is not from either of the leagues. Our lobbyist is tracking. There's already been some bills filed on that, and that's important to us. It's one of our strategic plans, so that's why we added that on to there. And the only other thing that's not on here, Palm Beach County League of Cities will be adding it to our platform, is I know that you guys received a copy of the league's letter of opposition of a local fire bill from County Fire that has to do with MSTUs and what happens at MSTU when a municipality annexes property. The way it's written is that the County Fire would still receive that payment even if it's annexed into a municipality that has their own fire, and they would still provide service unless there was some mutual aid agreement. The league's position, it was interesting because our board's made up of representatives from cities that have their own and fire and some that are county fire, but it was unanimous approval from the board, opposition, based on the fact that it's a clear violation of home rule, like blatant, attack on home rule, and then also on the fact that it was not brought to us. We were not at the table for discussion. They didn't consider the municipalities in creating that bill. So the stance with the league was really, let's pause this for this session. Let's work together and come up with language that works for everyone, and then move it forward in the next session. So that's where the conversation was with the league, and we'll add it. And I know cities are adopting resolutions one way or the other, so I did want to get our council's temperature to see what you guys think. I know you guys were there. There was a third revision to the bill that was announced. I haven't seen it. I don't think Jeremy's seen it yet. Keith hasn't seen it. So it's like this right now. So it's like, do we wait and see where it lands before we take a position? Do we agree with the league's position just on the principle that it's an attack on home rule, and we would like to be part of the discussion and come up with something collaboratively together? So what does council think on that?
A few comments on the versus the way it's written, the ordinance is written. I didn't see, actually I'll take it back, the clerk's bill that was top 3 voted in. It would have been top 2, but Florida open carry got added in last minute, and that was obviously very popular. So it'd be interesting to see where the clerk's exemption ends up, because the committee has a large amount of clerks on the committee. So it will be interesting where that goes. I think sovereign immunity still takes number 1. Number 2, we'll have to see between open carry and clerk's exemption. The other part on here, and I didn't see it in there, I do want to make sure our lobbyist keeps an eye out, or I'd be against, it calls it community residences, recovery communities, and congregate living facilities. And this is an additional bill that streamlines more codes within all municipalities. And so this is what I was kind of speaking to earlier, where I was confused, because the language is similar. It goes in and it, I guess it's right, codified, but it streamlines all cities to be the same language for all these type of living facilities and residences. And so I think for us, and it's weird because it's from the Florida League, so it seems like an attack on home rule. The Florida League was supporting it, so I was very confused on this because it would apply to all cities. And so I would say that we should be against this as we're monitoring and see where it goes. It might not go anywhere, but for our lobbyists to monitor. On the MSTU, I think that everyone made some great points today, and you just made a great point. I would recommend the council remains neutral on it, not follow the Palm Beach County League. I think Palm Beach County has been great partners with us over the years and continues to be. We really can't operate full public safety or fire without them. And we get a high level of training, apparatus maintenance, and many other items from them. So I'm gonna be neutral on that, not for or against, because I do think they've been good long-term partners.
Hi.
Hi, any other council comments?
Regarding the last one you brought up, with the county fire, I am kind of neutral on it, because it's been tweaked a little bit here and there, and I've been reading different things, and it depends on who's explaining it to me, the way that I get an explanation, and I have yet to have a solid, this is what it is.
It's like this right
Yeah, and I don't like that, because I feel like that's incredibly unfair to residents in general, all over. So I need to see where they're going with it. I don't love the approach. I don't love the vibe it has right now. I mean, I fully support firefighters in the county. I think they could do a better job at the way they're doing this, but I know it's the union pushing it. So I can't really give a temperature just yet. I'm kind of in the middle, because one day I'm up here and the other one I'm like, ugh. And it really depends on where I'm getting the information. But right now my information comes from solid sources like attorneys and other politicians and firefighters, and it's not coming to me very clear yet. And that makes me nervous, because if it goes up the ladder, how are they going to take it? And I think that's highly unfair to the public, because it's very confusing for the public to follow that. That's not fair to them. And then having to figure out what the media, says about it and who's giving them information. So I can't really say one thing or not on right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp on that. It's on its third revision, so there's not really a bill that we can even look at. So to say we want to take a position against something that we don't really know, on the surface, it sounds like it's something that it's not fair to us. But what Jason had commented on, we've had a great relationship with fire, and when little Timmy falls down the well and we need special ops, that's what we get for them. And I don't want to say no to something that is being characterized as fire, trying to make it all about fire, because I don't even know what we're voting on. I don't know, because we had the bills changed for the third time, and now it sounds like it's going to be changed for the fourth time, and this can could get kicked down the road. So I'd hate to adopt something that I don't even know what we'd be adopting. We're taking a position against something because the League of Cities is, but with all due respect to the league, what are they taking a position against? What they think it's going to say? We don't know that, unless they know something that I don't know. But I'm more of a neutral, and because I don't want to come out against fire, because we've got a great relationship with them. But I also don't know enough to say, yeah, I think the MSTU issue is a bad thing, because on the surface it sounds like it, but I don't really know what we'd be saying we're against. So that's my concern.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, it was my duty to bring it up tonight, 100%. And I do agree. I called Jeremy after the meeting. I'm like, well, I'm even more confused, because the delegation's not voting. Now they have to meet again. And again, it's very convoluted right now. And Amy, when I first talked to Keith about it too, when we got the first bill, I was like, well, I don't even have any data. Like, how can I even analyze this and what they're saying? I have no data. So we're really kind of operating in the blind on that. Again, the league's position was to oppose it in regards to pause, let's work together to come up with a solution. We weren't opposing it let's talk about it. We've worked so great with the county through the transportation plan, and we're really trying to establish that precedence going forward, that we work together. We're all better together. The county's better if we all work together. So let's have that conversation. So the league wasn't opposing it outright. It was, let's pause, work together, bring something forward. But I do agree. I think we definitely need to monitor it, and we're all engaged. And maybe when there's something more definitive, we can talk about it again, and then decide what we want to do. Because every city's so different too. We have a great relationship. We have mutual aid with the county. Other cities don't have that same setup. So it's, again, everyone's so differently affected by it as well. So I do agree that it was, but I do agree because it's just so convoluted, and I was more confused after the local bill hearing today than I was probably going into it.
So guidance on what for us to take action on this agenda item, the motion would be to adopt the league and exclude
Well, the one that we have is not the revised one attached, I believe.
Because I don't see anything.
It's not on here, no, because it still has to be added. So it's not on here. So we can we're adopting the exhibit.
The last 2 pages.
Yeah.
604 and 605.
Which isn't on there. Another thing on finance and taxation. So we did a vote in November on just property tax reform. I know on here it lists local option sales tax reform and local business tax reform. I want to keep those on there. There's already business tax receipt bills filed. So I want to keep those on there because even though the FLC is not taking those two up as their priority, we'll still need to advocate for those items this session. So I want to leave them on there.
Can I just add, to clarify, the municipal elections, the Palm Beach County League of Cities opposes legislation that restricts the voters' authority to set municipal election dates. Explain that to me.
So there is some movement at the state to get our municipal elections. Are you on that committee that is talking about this, or you are? No. So basically they want to change ours to the even year November election, like state and national election. And so that can cause a lot of complications with just competing for voter attention when you have national and state going on. You're going to have a saturated media market. It overrides a bunch of local charters. You don't have, we'd have to update our charters or eliminate that from our charters. I don't know how that would work. With staggered terms, it could come up with complications for, we might have to do temporary appointments or incumbents' term would need to be extended to get aligned with that. And I know they're saying with if you have to have a runoff or recall, that's going to end up falling in the holidays when people are gone and not here. So then you might be dealing with that when people aren't around, which is going to affect the voter turnout for that. And then something else is being said is it really, when you're tying it to the state and national, we're nonpartisan. State and national is very partisan. So there's worry that the municipal elections and those candidates will start getting wrapped into the partisan discussions when we're truly not. You guys all know we are absolutely nonpartisan. Up here, everything we do is nonpartisan. So there's that worry that the municipal elections will start getting sucked into that conversation. And Jeremy, is there anything else? 'Cause I'm sorry, I stole your thunder. You're on that committee, not me.
I was hoping you were going to ask me, but it's really good.
It's confusing because it says it opposes the voters' input. I didn't know where it was coming from, so thank you. That's one reason.
That was a good explanation.
Yeah. I would just
Are you too long-winded?
So the motion would be to approve what's before us this evening because it omits the MST issue. Doesn't reference.
Yeah, it's not on here. No,
So
we want to add the municipal
clerk.
and then and Councilmember French. I need to understand yours more, especially if you said FLC's supporting it. I would like to do some more research, and then, like I said, we might be revisiting this in December anyways, because there's going to be stuff that transpires between, like I said, that MSTU local fire bill. Maybe there's that gets resolved between now and our December meeting, and we discuss that again. So I'd like to do some research. Can you say again what that was?
Yeah, it calls it Chapter 419, but it's community residences, recovery communities, and congregate living facilities.
Was it on your October agenda?
It was, yes.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, what's your committee again?
It is municipal operations.
Okay, I'll look at your agenda.
Okay.
And if, just so other council members know, if you go to FLC's website and their policy, okay, yeah, the agendas are all posted on there, so you can look it up.
And it's rare, but if there's something that falls outside of this resolution, in my opinion, because I don't want to take a stance without council's opinion, but if something does come up that does not fall on this, I can always bring it back at any point to council during one of the workshops or a council meeting, depending on the time. Or if something's really important, we could always call a special meeting just to talk about it. But it hasn't happened in the 6 years I've been here. But if something does happen that we haven't taken a stance on, we can do that.
Okay, so the motion would be to approve adding the clerk's, sorry, what is the language again for that? The
exemption.
Public record
exemption, yes. So is there a motion for that?
Let me pull up the...
And we're leaving the 419, like Mr. French's. I item off currently until next time, until we get more information. Is that what I'm hearing? Just
That's what I would prefer, just because
Yeah.
when you said the league supports it, like, well, maybe a reason, and not that we don't always agree with everything they do, but I do just want to have the opportunity to look into
Yeah, it
it.
didn't have much popularity, and yeah, that's all I'd give you on it. And just from my personal experiences and my professional experience with some of these residences, it's caused great concern in a small community like this. It's not only a demand on our public safety, it could definitely erode the fabric of a street or a neighborhood. It's dangerous sometimes. And we're not Miami, we're not West Palm Beach. The country club is a prime space for some of these residences to move into there. So I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2425.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't take public comment. Is there any public comment? Sorry about that. It's the last item, tired. Okay,
No.
no, you can go ahead.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2425, adding in the clerk public record exemption.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, and on to any other matters. Well, anything else for tonight?
Nothing in particular. I happen to watch the EAC meeting like I usually do. Only yesterday I got to actually watch it like, as it was happening. They did talk. They had a presentation about the oysters that you brought up. So I know they didn't talk too much about it afterwards, but they got a good presentation. So that's on there if you guys want to watch it and kind of get a head start in case it comes to us. And Mr. Allen did a great job by touching base with them and letting them know if they had anything to bring to us when we start our strategic planning discussions to start planning that now. So we don't have to go and try to start that in like March with them. That's it.
Anything else?
Nothing.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Because it's dark.
We all
That's another meeting, another meeting.